What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 34 of C4SVillains. I am your host JB and I am here with the Council of Villains, my boys Abe and Steve, and we have a stacked show for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We're going to be talking about What If Zombies. We're going to be talking about the new Matrix Revolutions, the Matrix Resurrections trailer, and we're going to be talking about some of our favorite moments from the PlayStation showcase that happened yesterday. So yeah, we have a stacked show for you guys. Can't wait to talk about all the amazing content that came out. Abe, Steve, thank you guys so much for joining me on this one.
Hey, you know what it is, family. You know how we do it.
Of course. You know, good to be here. Glad to be here again, man. It's a good week.
Yeah, man. I love doing this show. Like, there's so much great shit for us to talk about. Like Abe was saying off screen, like, there's so much great news that came out this week. Great movies that are coming out this weekend. Just saw Malignant today. Absolute flames. Check out my review on Twitter. I thought it was a fucking blast. James Wan is definitely one of the greatest horror directors of modern time, man. He's one of the greatest to ever touch a camera.
Better than Flanagan.
Period.
I'm just gonna say that right now. Since we're here, better than Flanagan. I got to.
Wait until October. We're gonna be doing 31 days of Halloween. On Twitter, we're gonna be talking about Abe and I's favorite horror movies. We're gonna be reviewing Malignant pretty soon. We're gonna be reviewing Halloween Kills. So yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned. Got some lit shit coming for you guys. So
October 15th, Halloween Kills, baby.
I can't wait, bro. So, like I mentioned, we have a lot of shit to talk about, so let's just dive straight in. I want to start off with just a box office report update. Shang-Chi, as of today, has made $162 million worldwide, which I think is pretty good. This is his first week. You know, we're still technically in a pandemic, so it's very successful. I think it broke the Labor Day opening weekend numbers, which is great to hear for an Asian-led film, so that's great to hear with that. So how do you guys feel about the success of Shang-Chi?
I'm pleased. Mainly because, like you mentioned, we're in a pandemic, so box office expectations, you know, as someone who's very new to this area of media and really diving into this type of content, you know, my expectations are pretty low. You know, I don't know what normal projections would be like if we weren't in a pandemic, but I know for sure they had low expectations for this film for this weekend, the Disney executives. So I'm very pleased that, first of all, it set a Labor Day weekend itself by over 60 million. I'm glad that it was well received internationally. 162 million at opening week. Like, yo, this movie was great. And you know, later tonight when we review it, I can't wait to get into the details, but I'm very, very pleased to hear this news.
Max, I wasn't surprised. I thought that everybody was hyped for it, so I really thought that it was going to do well already. So only thing I am surprised is that it broke the Labor Day weekend record, because we are in a pandemic, and I'm thinking about what's been coming out during Labor Day in history. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is definitely that was a big thing, but I definitely thought it was going to do well. It was finally our first Marvel movie to hit theaters in forever. Like, so it's like I knew people were gonna like be excited and just, you know, turn up just because of that. So I'm not surprised that it did so well, and then it actually turned out to be really fucking good. So word of mouth travels. That helps it out as well. So yeah,
man, and I'm glad that it didn't end up on Disney Plus. Like, this movie needed to be seen in theaters and theaters only, and Eternals is officially theaters only thanks to the success of Shang-Chi. So very excited for that.
Definitely. That trailer, that final trailer that they showed right before Shang-Chi just made me so much more hyped for the film. Like, is I know I'm gonna definitely laugh. I know I'm going to have the feels, and I know it's going to be some solid action for sure. So I'm glad that that is theater only because I have to see it. You know, if it was on Disney Plus as well, actually no, I wasn't going to pay for it anyway on Disney Plus, but I will be going to the theater to see that for sure. I will be going to the theater.
Yeah, can't wait for Eternals, man. I'll be there opening night for that one. So let's get into the PlayStation Showcase, man. The PlayStation Showcase showed us a bunch of fire content for all of the new games that's going to be coming out for PS5 within the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And they had some great reveals. We're talking Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. Can't wait for that. We got our first look at Darth Revan. I thought that was fucking sick. I'm going to bring up an image for you guys right now. Like, Darth Revan looks so good in this. Like, I can't wait for this game. It's going to be absolutely sick. Like, what did you guys see? Did you guys see that trailer? And what did you think of
Yes.
the getting the remake of this?
Yo, I love Star Wars. I really do. And mind you, I am a big fan of Darth Vader. He's one of my top three villains of all time. You feel me? Um, but like we talked about this on Anime lately a few weeks ago. Darth Vader isn't the ultimate Sith. You know, you have figures like Darth Bane, and Darth Revan is also ahead of Darth Vader. And so what I love about it is that this game is coming out as well as Darth Revan is part of the Star Wars continuity. Thanks to 2019, they came out with an encyclopedia, a picture dictionary actually. And I did some research just because that trailer made me hype, and I wanted to see if there was any more news regarding Darth Revan. But he was supposed to be in season 3 of Clone Wars, in that episode Ghost of Mortis. So that's the episode where Anakin goes to the planet and he meets the father, the son, and the daughter. The son representing the dark side of the
Yeah,
force.
yeah.
Yeah, so there was supposed to be a scene where the son meets with the ghost of Darth Bane and Darth Revan, but ultimately they cut that out. Just because George Lucas himself felt like, you know what, it's not really part of the vision I have regarding the Force and having these Sith Lords exist beyond death. But if you buy the complete third season on Blu-ray, the bonus content does show you the animation that they cut out. So I was like, damn, we almost had him in Clone Wars. Like, hey, so now we're getting this remake. It's gonna look really good, man. Darth Revan he's serious. He's serious. Like, he is one of the Sith originators, baby. So
Facts.
I'm so hyped for this, John. I'm so hyped for this.
Steve, do you have any history with Darth Revan, and do you have any history with like any of the older Star Wars games?
So, no, I don't have a history with the games or anything like that, but it made me have a better appreciation for it because this week I literally watched The Mandalorian all week. Like, I hadn't watched it before, so I binged that, and then I binged. I've gotten like halfway through Bad Batch, so I've watched Star Wars before, and then like just with that being fresh on my mind of The Mandalorian and that whole Star Wars universe, that trailer for that game, I was just like, okay, yeah. I'm all in, and it was like I'm having more like desire to like get into more of the Star Wars franchise because I've watched the episodes, but I haven't watched Solo. I haven't watched what is it?
Rogue
Whichever
One.
Rogue One. I haven't watched that.
Rogue One
Yeah.
was great.
Only
I
thing
think
I've
Rogue One's the best movie.
yeah,
Out of the recent ones, absolutely.
I've only watched like the episode 1 through 5, I believe. And then I've watched a little bit of Clone Wars, and then now I've watched Mandalorian, and then I watched half of Bad Batch. So like just that game was like, okay, now I kind of want to get into that because I do know the Star Wars games that were coming out, Star Wars Unleashed and things like that, where that the Force Unleashed and things like that came out not too long ago. And I remember everybody was on that wave, and I didn't get on that wave because I wasn't a Star Wars guy. I had jumped on them late. I actually watched the entire Star Wars franchise, well, most of the Star Wars franchise like last year. was when I first watched everything. So yeah, I jumped on the wave way late. So now I'm having more of an appreciation for it. And then this trailer for this game, I was like, okay. So like I'm kind of interested to see how this is gonna be. So
Yeah,
it was just good timing that I just happened to watch Mandalorian this week.
yeah, man. Like I'm envious of you, man. Like getting to watch Mando for the first time all over again. Like I wish I could do that. And yeah, man. Clone Wars, I would definitely check it out. Clone Wars is second to Mando as my favorite Star Wars thing in like live action, in like live media. So like animation, live action movies. Like Mando, Clone Wars. That's my favorite shit. So yeah, definitely try Clone Wars one of these days. Really, really great series. First season is a little rocky. They were trying to figure out like what tone they wanted, like if they wanted it to be more kid like or more like adult like. But after like you get to the second season, they really figure it out. And there's some really, really sick moments. Like some of my favorite Palpatine moments happen in Clone Wars, bro. So yeah, check it out.
Season 3 was my favorite episode. Was actually when Anakin does go to Mortis, and they really speak more on the legend of prophecy of the chosen one, and they give a deeper dive into it. Because mind you, I feel like the movies didn't really do a great job, especially the originals didn't really do a great job of really explaining the chosen one and what that really meant. But Clone Wars really did a better job overall of really digging deep into what that was, and it's why I love the Clone Wars for sure. It's why I love it.
I know after Mandalorian, I was like super hyped for this Boba Fett that's gonna be coming out, and I'm like,
yeah, Book of Boba Fett is gonna be sick.
Everyone's favorite bounty hunter. Everyone's favorite bounty hunter. I love it.
I was all like, oh, I like this dude. I was like, he's getting his own series too. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down. I'm sold.
Yeah, man, very, very excited for this. I was blown away when I saw Darth Revan. I'm like, dude, like this is a great idea to do a remake of, because I mean the older Star Wars games were way better, like way, way better, right? Like you mentioned Force Unleashed, Steve. Like that still, like besides Fallen Order, that still might be like my two favorite Star Wars games ever. Because getting to play a Star Killer and watching him use all of his Force abilities at that in some moments kind of rival Vader, depending on the situation, like man, absolutely incredible. So yeah, let's move on to the next game that they talked about, God of War Ragnarok. I want to talk about this real quick. God of War Ragnarok. I didn't play any of the older God of War games, any of them. But the one that came out that I believe won Game of the Year like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I played that one. That instantly became one of my favorite games of all time. So I'm really excited for a Ragnarok game where we're going to get Kratos versus Thor and a bunch of other crazy shit. So I'm going to toss it to you guys. Steve, I want to start with you. Let me know like your hype level for God of War Ragnarok.
I love God of War. Like literally, like even when I went on a phase where I was like an Xbox 360 guy and stuff like that, I would always have to get the PlayStation to play the other God of War games. The God of War franchise is like dope as shit. And then even like on the PSP, I had to watch someone play it on YouTube. So I wanted to know the story of how that was because I wasn't going to get a PSP. But like God of War is like one of my favorite franchises. God of War 3, when you get to watch him, you haven't played him, but like when he fights Zeus, that's one of my all-time favorite fights. That one, and then when he freaking fights Icarus and he fucking rips his wings off, like Kratos is like beastly. He rips his wings off and during the fight. So now Icarus only had like one wing at one point, and then he ripped the other wing off. It was fucking sick. Like God of War is brutally and one of the craziest games ever. So then when this new God of War came out and he was just using the regular sword and shield, I was just like, this is interesting. And then once he got the Blaze of Chaos, I was like, oh yeah, it's time, baby. I was like,
I love the axe, but the chains with the blades on them, that's my favorite weapon.
Oh man, the Blade of Chaos is so crazy. And God of War is dope. I have some of my best rage moments trying to kill Valkyries. And God of War is those Valkyries, just trying to hunt them down and kill. Because I've killed 2, and that's it. I can't kill Yeah, I killed the one on that little trial area where you go through that whole little trial thing and then I've killed the other one that's like in this little dark tunnel. I can't even remember where it's at anymore. But I've killed two of them, but I haven't killed the other two. They're just impossible. like like you just can't beat them. But I'm excited for this new one. I'm excited to see how it's all gonna go. Find out that his son is named Loki, all this other stuff. There's so much coming up with this new God of War that I'm so hyped for. So yeah.
Abe, what
For
are your
me,
thoughts?
I've actually never played a lick of God of War. As crazy as it is, I've never played God of War. But one thing's for sure is that it's always intrigued me. And the thing was, at the time God of War was dropping, my type of gaming was multiplayer. Playing with my homie in college and whatnot. So it's basically COD, 2K, of course, sports games. But now, I've kind of gotten bored of that because they get repetitive, right? I know it's not on the docket, but Call of Duty Vanguard doesn't interest me. It's coming out soon. Multiplayer doesn't seem to interest me. I do love zombies though. I've become more of a zombies player over multiplayer. And I've just been like, you know what, Abe, it's time to really dive into these story-driven games. Of course, I played Assassin's Creed, but God of War, I know is at the upper echelon. And I'll say this, their trailers, their content, I never heard anybody speak ill of it. So when I get my ski mask, get my Air Force Ones, and acquire me a PS5, I for sure will also likely acquire me just all the God of War games so I can play the story through and through, because I've loved what I heard about the recent one and the plot twist that they added to it, and now with this new one coming out, Ragnarok Part 2, I'm really really hyped for it. So like I said, it's Robin season, baby. I'm gonna get me that PS5 so I can play these games, especially some of these new ones like God of War, because I need to join that fan base. I need to hop on the bandwagon.
You
Bro.
won't be disappointed, dude. Like I
Yeah.
said, this last game instantly became one of my favorite games of all time. There's a sequence with the World Serpent. Can't wait for you to find out what that is. But there's a sequence with the World Serpent. Turn your speakers up to 1,000 and just experience like that conversation with the World Serpent, bro. Like the world is really really good, and it expects you to explore it. It's not gonna tell you where things are hidden. It's not gonna tell you where, like, go to this secret cavern over here and you'll find some like really dope Easter eggs or some treasure or some shit. It wants you to explore, and that's the kind of games that I like. Open world games that expect you to explore every single nook and cranny of the entire map. So yeah, bro, definitely get on God of War for sure.
Yeah. Especially with the way that you kind of like the mischievous villains type thing. And Kratos, with the way that his story is in the first three, you would have really loved him, just like hunting down other gods and murdering. Like, he was just really that dude. Like, I think that would have been perfect for you. You would have loved Kratos, bro. You're gonna love Kratos.
Yeah, man. Look, really, really looking forward to that game. That also does that have a release date? I'm not sure if that one does currently, but yeah, I can't wait for. I believe it's 2022 next year, but there's no like official like date or whatever. But yeah, I can't wait
Question:
for that shit.
Is it copyright infringement if I have like us? Oh, you can't really see because of the lighting, but if I have us played in the background, like of
I
course
hope
I'm
not.
mute, but all right, because like it's like, hey, it's me talking live, watching you guys on Zoom while I'm playing in the background. It's just Inception. You feel me? I just thought I might as well throw it on. I like stuff on the TV.
Yeah, I'm not gonna claim it. So,
Yeah.
next game I want to talk about, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now this game looks really, really pretty. The story seems interesting, interesting enough for like a first game in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe, but like, yeah, I'll get it. I'll get it eventually. I'll play it. But what are your thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy game? Like, how does it look to you? Do you think the graphics are cool? Did the story like make you feel like interested in the game, or what?
I love all things Marvel. I love all things comic related. I don't really care about this game, honestly. It's nothing about it made me say like, yo, I got a cop. Like, yo, like I said, I've never played God of War, but the trailer at least made me like, man, Abe, it's about time you get on this wave. Like, you really missing out. I know Guardians of the Galaxy is this first entry, but I'm not moved. I'm not moved. Maybe part of that has to do with Marvel's history when it comes to games, even though like this is a different studio than I believe this is a different studio, yeah, but it's just,
yeah, it's different.
I don't know, maybe I just don't care about the Guardians like I should, so this might be a game where if it hops on PS Plus, for a free game of the month, I'm gonna download. Or if there's like, hey, we have a sale 25 65% off, and I'm like, all right, I might as well spend like 10 15 $20 on it. Yeah, but at the moment it doesn't capture me.
Yeah, until I see like actual gameplay, I don't think I'm gonna spend like $60 to $70 on this game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it at all. Unless the whole world comes out and be like, yo, this game turns out to be fire or something like that. But it's not something I'm gonna be spending money on. I'll probably eventually grab it, but I'm not spending the whole 60, 70. I'm not doing that. It's just some games like come out and you're like intrigued by it, like, what I'm saying, Spider-Man's coming out, well, Wolverine. You're like, oh, okay. And then they're like Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're kind of like, why? It's kind of like, whatever. It was kind of like that with the movie when it first came out. I was like, there's Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out, but it ended up being Flames. But like, it's kind of the same way. Like, I'm not too intrigued by this. I don't know what you can really do with this game and things like that. And then you're only going to be able to pay with Star-Lord. So that kind of already took out some of it. It's like, what's the point of having the whole...
If it's not the T'Challa, I don't want to play it. I don't want to play it.
What's the point of having...
I was actually hoping of getting to play as Gamora, honestly.
Yeah.
Like Gamora, Drax, like Groot, Rocket with all his weapons and shit.
Groot would have been fun as hell, dog.
Yeah.
Groot would have make it one of them things where you can play with all of them eventually. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? As the story progresses. But finding out you can only play with Star-Lord, it's like, what's the point of a Guardians of the Galaxy game if you can only play with one of them? You know what I'm saying? So that kind of took away from me.
I mean, that was the same. That was one of the many issues with Marvel's Avengers. Is the fact that, okay, we're playing at Miss Marvel, but we want to play as other characters, which, the DLCs, they started to allow that. But, on initial releases, I have no interest playing as Miss Marvel. I really don't. Like, no shade to her character. I just don't have any interest. By the way, just a quick tangent, want to say a special shout out to Spicy Lady Gaming, who is streaming right now, and she has us on her stream. You know how much she shows us love.
Spicy.
So, yeah, appreciate you, Spicy, for sharing us with your followers, with your viewers. Appreciate you for real. Shout out to Spicy Lady Gaming. Make sure you follow her on Twitch. Subscribe right now. Yo. Go ahead and do that, John, for us. Appreciate you, Spicy.
Yeah, Spicy's bringing you guys flame content like every single week. Definitely subscribe to her Twitch for sure. But yeah, man, for me, Guardians, like the sucky part is that I can only play as Peter, right? It's like, yeah, I am interested in getting to use his guns and all that shit, and I really hope like we can pilot the Milano and there's some type of like open world aspect to it where I can like fly around, go to like different planets in a certain sector. Like, I think that would be really cool. But if I can't do that, like Abe, like, yeah, I'll just wait till it's like 65% off, and then I'll get it. If it's on like PS Plus for free for a couple weeks, I'll get it. I'll beat it. But yeah, I'm not dropping like $70 right out the gate for this game until I see full gameplay, and then I can make a decision. Next up, want to talk about Forspoken. Now, this looks like one of the more unique games on the lineup. Very fantasy-esque. Love that we have a black female lead in this game that gets this mystical bracelet that gives her these ridiculous powers. Guys, if you haven't seen the trailer, go to carefulforspoilers.com right now and you can click on our PlayStation Showcase recap. Breezy, who's in chat right now, he also wrote an article just breaking down Forspoken itself, so go read that as well. Go check out the trailer. But yeah, this game looks really interesting. Besides the Marvel games, this is one of my most anticipated games coming out for PS5 right now. So what are your thoughts on it?
Man, I'm not familiar with the voice actor, but I looked up her credits. I haven't seen any of her work. I'm excited. Just off the trailer, I'm really excited. First of all, we're getting a black woman MC. Like, how often can we even say that about video games nowadays? I know Deathloop offers us a black woman as the lead, but most games don't have this. And just based off the trailer itself, I was like, oh, okay, she like us, yo. She like, what the fuck is this? Like, oh shit, I can fly there. And her cup is like, hey, relax, okay. Like, oh, okay, that's where you draw the line. That's where, me flying is where you draw the bet. It had me excited. The gameplay looked, the visuals look beautiful. It's the type of game that I really want to immerse myself in. The game mechanics already look interesting to me. It seems like there'll be a lot of exploration, a lot of just beautiful graphics, and the fights just look so fun. So it's a game that I definitely would like to play. Like I said, I just got to get the ski mask. I'm gonna hit up the lady and see if she can make me a ski mask or whatnot, because I'm serious. It's Robin season out here. Whoever's listening, if you are the feds, this is all jokes, quote unquote jokes. If you are not the feds, y'all know what I mean. All right, so we good. But Forspoken looks really good. It looks really good. Definitely better than Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I just looked at the trailer. It looks pretty fun. I like her excitement. Her in the trailer, she's kind of thrilled, like, yes, I'm seeing dragons, and like her narration in the trailer was pretty dope. Like at first it was kind of like she was sad and she was going through it. She had the bullies and things like that. Then all of a sudden she's stoked, she's excited. She's like, oh shoot, I'm fighting dragons. I can do magic. I can do this. And it was kind of like, it was a realistic play on if you had powers too, like, you know what I'm saying, the kind of excitement that you would have and you'd be going through the type of emotion. So I actually enjoyed that trailer. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, man, like the first time I saw any footage of it was from like a couple years ago when we were doing some Unreal Engine 5 tests. You got to see like a little bit of what like the gameplay would be like, the mechanics and shit. I was like, this is the kind of game that I'm looking for. This is the kind of original IP that we need right now. Something really, really out of the box that will be a lot of fun to play. So yeah, man, really, really excited for Forspoken for sure. We also got a small tease, an announcement teaser for fucking Wolverine, bro.
Yes!
When I saw the hat, right? When I saw the hat and I saw the fucking
immediately
the fucking lumberjack shirt, the flannel shirt, I was like, holy shit, we're getting a fucking Wolverine game. What are your thoughts?
The knuckles. You can see that, hey, his scar, it looks like he just freshly used his clothes.
Yeah, let me pull this shit up.
I was just, oh my gosh, yo.
I got the image up right now.
Yo,
this scene with him pulling out
hyped.
the claws, bro. It looks so sick. Oh my god.
Bruh. Look. I know I said in the chat with Breezy, if I cannot eviscerate people with glee, I don't want this game. Okay, I mean, there's people. I know there have been some thoughts like, oh, this it looks cool, but they were hoping to maybe another Marvel character, especially one that's more connected with Spider-Man, such as basically anybody from Hell's Kitchen, so you can really create that Marvel universe with Spider-Man at your center. But Wolverine is a great choice. I mean, there's so much stories you can do with that. Think about the X-Men cameos we could probably get. His lore itself is fun because he's lived for such a long time. You can do a lot of different period pieces. Him during World War I, World War II. You can explore a lot, and I'm really hyped for it. It's gonna be fun. It's a great teaser. I think it's expected 2024 maybe? Is that the expected date?
Yeah, 2023, 2024, some shit like
that.
Yeah,
so look, Insomniac is in charge. They provided us with Spider-Man. I have full faith. I'm just wondering, like, yo, are we gonna get, is this gonna be like Wolverine's pre-X-Men days? Are we gonna get his X-Men days, which means the costumes? Like what are we gonna, I mean, we still have no idea, but what are we gonna explore with him? I'm really excited for that.
You bring up a really good point, and I think it would be beneficial if it's like right before his X-Men days.
Yeah,
I think that'd be really cool. Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
It definitely feels like it's pre-X-Men days, just because you get the flannel, and the hat and things like that. It seems like we'll probably get some pre-X-Men gays, and then like halfway through the game, we'll get an introduction from like Charles Xavier, like coming up to him speaking, like, "Hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you should be."
I'm here to talk to you about the X-Men Initiative.
Yeah, yeah.
He's the homie. He's in here. Let's go. Let's go.
But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's definitely gonna be like something leading up to the X-Men, and then we'll probably end off with him finally joining the X-Men or deciding I'll make a decision. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't happen or something like that. But because I'm definitely like Abe said, you get a lot of lure from the X-Men universe. You get so many different. You'll get the experiments and things like that, but you might get a little Sabretooth in there. You might get like you get so much with that, and there's just so much you can do with it. So I think it's gonna be really good.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up Sabretooth, right, Steve? So here's the better question. Who do you think they get to be the first villain? Do you pull out Sabretooth right away? Or like what villain do you get? What antagonist do you get to put in Logan's way that he eventually gets to the X-Men?
It depends on the lore they want to, how truthful to the comics do they want to be. Because, you know, you have Sabretooth has been depicted as like his brother. So I wouldn't mind that being...
Which I don't like, bro. I don't like that. Why do they need to be connected because their powers are similar?
Yeah. I like it because, you know, I'm big into family and sibling rivalries. I didn't mind it when they introduced that, but it could be... What's man's name from Last Stand? The doctor, the one that set it all up.
I can't remember the.
No, not Last Stand. X2. It was
Strucker, right?
Striker. Yeah, Striker. I mean, that could be the big bad, but then also we could get Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
No, because here's my thing.
Here's my thing. Striker. Do Striker first.
Striker.
Not only
anything but Omega Red.
Yeah, definitely. But here's the thing: this Wolverine game could be their jumping off point to introduce the X-Men universe and provide us X-Men games in the future. Forget Spider-Man. This could be like, all right, you know, we'll start off with Wolverine, and then, you know, if people really rock with it, we can then go in and drop maybe an X-Men game. We can go in and drop maybe a solo Cyclops. No, I don't think anybody wants Cyclops, but Storm game, stuff like that. So I'm really excited for this potential. I would like, you know what, Stryker as the first villain, because then you focus really on the origin. You can get Lady Deathstrike. You can build upon the Wolverine family, X-23, Dockin, all that stuff. So I'll be down for that.
Bro, Stryker is the perfect choice because he has deep ties to Wolverine's origin, and you can use his army as fodder. Wolverine has to fight through Stryker's army to get to the guy that turned him into what he is. Right? I think that would be kind of sick if that's the first thing that they do, and then at the end, that's what gets Xavier's attention and decides to recruit him based on that.
Because outside of the fodder too, you can do his Stryker's previous experiments. That could be like mini bosses you throw at Wolverine. Because Wolverine himself, wasn't he like experiment 10? Was he experiment 10, I think?
I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah, I think he was like experiment 10 or 11, somewhere around there. So you can have like, oh, you know, the previous experience. Let's throw him at Wolverine to fight. You know, as he makes his way to Stryker, the eventual big bad of the game. I'll be down for it.
Hell yeah, man. That'd be sick.
Do you think it's going to be open world like Spider-Man, or do you think you're going to get the more closed off world like God of War?
Please, like, because I mean, the map doesn't have to be that big, right? It doesn't have to be that big, but give us open world for Wolverine, dude.
The map is going to depend on what type of story they decide to tell with him. You know, honestly, just because of his history. I mean, he's way older than he actually is. Damn near immortal. So you can do a lot with that. So I'm thinking it probably would be best to go open world like Spider-Man, like Assassin's Creed, you know. could provide us. But if it's, I don't want it to be closed. I don't want it to be closed. I want
'Cause I
to
know
have the option.
I know God of War is open world, but it's not like how like Spider-Man is.
Yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
focuses on a story. Like, yes, you can explore, but it's focused on a main story, not much deviation, as far as I could tell from reviews and people's personal opinions. But yeah, I think it would be better for it to be closer to Spider-Man, and it probably, I mean, same studio, so probably they will. Probably they will.
Yeah, man, that would be a missed opportunity. It's just if it's just like mission cutscene, do open world. Like let Wolverine like drive around and like have to like stop like bad guys from like I don't know. Like there's so much shit that you can do to play around with that world to make it feel big. Like I don't know. I hope it's open world. I really hope they do. Because I mean, look at the success of Spider-Man, right? Like they're pumping out these games so fast right now because they're so successful, and a lot of that is because you can explore the open world. So very excited.
Definitely excited.
Yeah, Breezy, you there? I know he was telling
Y'all
me
hear me?
his mic's frozen.
Hey, there we go,
yo,
Breezy.
yo.
All right, so I guess it's going to be audio only. What's up, fellas?
What's up? What's up?
Doing
Nice
good,
to
man.
make your acquaintance outside of chat. This is our
Yeah,
first
same
time
here.
really talking.
Facts.
Yeah. How much you guys want to backtrack for me to catch up?
Hey,
Well, give me your thoughts on Wolverine real quick, and then we'll go from there.
So I was still at work, and I just like I was waiting for you to like post all this stuff, and then I saw the Wolverine thing. I was like, huh? Excuse me. Then I saw Insomniac. I was like, yes, this is perfect. And to you guys' point, I wanted exactly like Spider-Man. I wanted exactly like that. Exactly how they had it, even with like side quests and all that good stuff. Because Insomniac is killing the game right now.
Facts, dude.
yeah, they are.
They're ridiculous. And we were talking about like potential villain. Like, what potential villain would you like to see as the antagonist of this game?
To be frank, I don't know the Wolverine lore like that, but I mean, why not do Sabretooth?
I was thinking
it's
Sabretooth, you know? But
save for what?
another game. Like, cause like Abe was saying, right? Like, I think for the first game, Stryker's your best bet. Stryker's your best bet to like give him someone that's again deeply rooted in like his origins, and then like it's a bunch of fodder that he can fight Stryker's army and all that stuff, and then later on when you get the introduction of the X-Men characters and all that stuff, then you bring in some of his other antagonists. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they give you both. They give you part Stryker, part Sabretooth.
maybe he's working for Stryker. Maybe he's one of the bosses, you know?
Yeah. Because in this Spider-Man game, we got pretty much the whole Sinister Six. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get multiple villains instead of just Stryker alone or just Sabretooth alone.
I mean,
Yeah.
you still have, of course, Mr. Sinister to deal with, Wolverine too. But that is like a next level. You don't do Mr. Sinister before you do Stryker, in my opinion. So you can do Stryker as like the main villain of Wolverine, and then the next Wolverine game, depending on how successful it is, that's when you should introduce Mr. Sinister. You can involve more of the X-Men. I think if anything, if they do go the Stryker route, we'll see cameos from other X-Men. Like we might have him from one of his because this is basically I think this is going to be a vendetta story. This is a revenge story. So he might just run across one of them on one of his missions, quote unquote missions. I don't want to use the word because it's not like quest. We'll say quest or task. And then we go that route, and it would be really, really exciting. Just to Wolverine. Like, you don't understand. Wolverine is my top 5 favorite character of all time. You know, like
it
I'm
has to be
hyped.
it has to be bloody. Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I can't
it has
cut
to be bloody.
someone's arm in 3 pieces with one strike, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, I
Like,
really don't want it.
I need like the camera to be splattered with blood as I like swipe at someone and be like, oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, of course I get hit with blood while I do that. I need to be able to hear the sounds of me stabbing someone, the death cries of my opponents. I need to see the pain in their eyes. You understand me? You understand me? This needs to be as realistic as possible, please.
And like Spicy just brought up in chat, like, I want a Deadpool game after this. If you're gonna do Wolverine, give me a fucking Deadpool game.
Like, see, when you do a Deadpool game, because Wolverine, his regeneration powers are pretty rapid. Deadpool's is twice as rapid. So it's kind of one of those things where, like, how do you lose?
You run into the Superman problem.
Yeah, how do you make that to a point where it's challenging, to where I guess it would be more so of time missions, because other than that, like, how do you lose?
It's a difficult one, point. But that's why I don't think they go Deadpool next. If Wolverine does well, I do think that they give us, of course, a Wolverine 2. And then they start working on X-Men focused video games, because I'll say this. I think Marvel is currently in the business of expanding the MCU to not only cover the films, but to cover TV shows, live action and animated, and to trickle down into video games. So if anything, if we don't get X-Men next, what about a Fantastic Four game?
Yes, please.
Well, to back up to like the Deadpool thing, the rumors at the time, before we even knew that Wolverine was happening, is that there was going to be Deadpool. Like there was a developer that said he wants to do Deadpool. It's the developer for No More Heroes. I don't know if you guys know that series or not. It just came out on.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, it just came out on Switch, I believe, like 2 weeks ago or so. But that was the rumor that Deadpool may be coming, and that developer, it's still action adventure, kind of like crazy, campy fun. That's.
You're right, because you can't be ridiculous with Deadpool. Yeah, you can get ridiculous, make it comedic, make it flashy. Yeah, easily. So it would be an entertaining. I mean, the graphics have to be A1. I mean, I'm not accepting the Deadpool game if it's not A1. I want to be able to do ridiculous stuff and to be able to be like, yo, that was a beautiful cutscene. That was a beautiful the mechanics were just gorgeous to look at because of how ridiculous you can get with Deadpool. And mind you, I fully expect there to be a lot of fourth wall breaking. You know, like him
Spicy literally just brought that up.
Yeah, like him talking to us, the gamers, like, so you're really gonna press X to make me like strike at him? Do you see how big he is? Why not me just use a gun? I want to see stuff like that.
Have you ever played Sticks? It's like a game with a goblin or whatever, but every time he dies, he talks to you. Like, he'll come to the screen, he'd be like, yo, you couldn't double jump right then? You thought I was gonna make that jump? Like, he does stuff like that. I wouldn't mind if Deadpool did something like that. Yeah, like
if they could only get back the rights to that one Deadpool game that they pulled from like everything from like 6-7 years ago, just remake that and just as a tester, I think y'all will have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that was a Deadpool game. Was that on all consoles or is it just like Xbox?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It might have been on PlayStation.
I think it was just Xbox. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was just Xbox.
I'm not familiar. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, Nolan North was Deadpool.
Yeah, I remember that Deadpool game.
Yeah, didn't play it, but looked interesting. Yeah, so let's move on. Let's move on to Spider-Man, because this is what I've been waiting to fucking talk about. Spider-Man 2.
Right, let's go.
Did not expect to get this announcement this quickly. Also did not expect Venom to be the villain this quickly. They set up in the first Spider-Man game that we were going to get Venom. They set up in Miles Morales that we were going to get Venom. Did not think it was going to be this quick. Because I mean, Venom is like the ultimate like one-on-one like Spider-Man villain, right? I thought we would get more of his rogues gallery before we move on to Venom. So much like Kraven the Hunter is going to be in this game, I was like, okay, well, give us Kraven, and then give us maybe a couple other members, maybe the Lizard, right? The Lizard and Kraven. I think that would be fucking sick. But we're getting Venom right out the gate. So, Breezy, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on the announcement of Spider-Man 2 coming out so quickly? What are your thoughts on finding out who the villains were? Tony Todd is also going to be voicing Venom.
Tony
that's
Todd
going to
is
be
Venom.
fucking sick, bro.
Yeah, so I kind of heard on the streets it might happen, but we kind of always knew that that this Miles and Peter team up was going to happen, and it was I didn't expect anything else but that for Spider-Man 2. Now, Venom is very exciting, and Tony Todd as Venom is going to be insane. That voice acting is going to go off the chain. It may just win. Like I was saying, it just may win Game of the Year. He might win Voice Actor for the Year. Just give it all the awards right now. Just don't even play with it.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. And Venom, like you said, Venom is early, but then again, it's like it's kind of setting you up not only just for that universe of like, oh yeah, you get Venom and all this other stuff, but it gives you that symbiote thing that because you got Venom and Carnage coming as the movie. So there, I think it's more so of like the grand scheme of like we can play with this and then give you some more hype train with it and things like that. Because like you said, you still had Lizard, you still had Kraven, you still had Sandman that you could probably bring in, maybe Morbius or something like that. You could bring in, you know what I'm saying, things like that.
Fucking Hydro Man, bro.
Yeah, like there's so much that you could do. You could bring Kingpin out of prison. There's a lot of things that they could have done. And
you could bring anybody out of prison. You know, superheroes.
Yeah, but and for them to just be like, you know what, let's just go swing for the fences and let's go on and give you Venom. And then like you guys said with Tony Todd, it's just like the icing on the cake because it's like, man, Candyman just came out as well. It's more so like just all of those things. It's like the great big the perfect storm. You got Candyman just came out, so let's get Tony Todd as Venom, and then you got Venom and Carnage coming, and all this other stuff. It's such a perfect storm. It just fits. It really does.
Hey, what are your thoughts on this? Like, because another thing I was excited about was like the combo attacks that you can do with Miles and Peter.
Yeah,
yes.
The trailer itself looked great, especially that tag team that Miles and Peter did. But when it comes to Spider-Man, my favorite thing about Spider-Man is the symbiotes. You give me Venom, I'm looking forward to you introducing Carnage. Yeah, Carnage is my favorite symbiote of all time. All right. And how I can see this game doing is low key similar to again, you know, even though this is more of a Sony product, and they have rights to Spider-Man, I wouldn't be surprised to see that this game ends with Venom having like a redemption story, you know, with Venom now turning into the anti-hero, because that's currently what they're doing with Venom now in the comics. So the last few years they've gone from him just being a villain to the anti-hero. I mean, he's the star of Absolute Carnage, a star of King in Black. I think that by the end of this game, more than likely, Venom will join the Spider-Man family, and we start to expand upon the Spider-Man family as a whole. Future games will then, because I see this being a series now. I completely see this being a series, because remember when Miles Morales came out, people felt like, oh, this feels more like a, before people started playing, it was like, oh, is this more of a DLC? Like, they're just an add-on. Yeah. But then once people play, they were like, oh, this is beautiful, this is dope, this is great, right?
Yeah, they committed.
Yeah, they committed. It's just like, you know what? This is the start of really the Spider-Man family. And to give us Venom now early, while it is early, I think that's just so we can get him as an anti-hero, so you can start to make maybe a Venom-focused game and have him go against other symbiotes, like Carnage, for example, have him go against Scream and whatnot, and then focus on the Life Foundation as a possible antagonist for Venom to fight. And then, of course, you get, like, Null and learning about Clintar. So what I'm excited about these Marvel games outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, because I could care less about Guardians of the Galaxy, is that I feel like they're really setting the foundation to really expand the Marvel universe, not just the cinematic universe, but just the Marvel universe as a whole. We're going to get a lot of comic book stories that we get to play in, and then you'll have the crossovers where, you know, in a few Spider-Man games, he's going to team up with Deadpool. He's going to team up with Wolverine. You're going to be able to do combo attacks with Venom and Spider-Man. You feel me? So I'm really excited for what these studios have in store for us. Insomniac, you're doing a great job. I trust y'all for Wolverine. I'm really excited for what it's in store in terms of video games. And I will say this for the 6th time this episode. I'm gonna get my ski mask. Breezy,
we in it, right? We in there.
All right, I've got my partner. You know,
European style.
Yeah,
moving truck.
We in that, man.
We're doing it.
Y'all seen the town before? Hey, we go. You know what? After ski mask, we gonna put on none mask. You know, we gonna pull up, grab us some PS5s. You feel me? We gonna be ready. We gonna be ready.
I'm taking the Reagan mask. So 2 questions, and I guess I got Abe's feelings on it. One, this in the same vein, they get a Venom side game. Is his own thing? It's like reduced costs, and you get its own story. And then part 2 for Spider-Man 2. What if the Stinger could be Madam Web? No pun intended. How does she play into that whole thing? How would they come in and like start pulling strings of the whole universe? Because it seems like they're going all into making at least a lot of these tie-in games for Spider-Man. And if it's still Insomniac, maybe they tie it into Wolverine. Who knows?
Dude, a Spider-Verse game would be retarded.
I don't want Madam Web just yet without us getting like Silk, Spider Lady, Gwen Stacy. I don't want that yet. Eventually, I think you have to do it. But I would rather continue building upon the Spider-Man family, giving us more of the Spider-Man-esque characters, the symbiotes, and like I said, Null and whatnot. That's further away. But Madam Web would be an ambitious, but that'd be a dope ass ultimate goal eventually for us to reach. I mean, these video games, how they're lining up right now, like I said, is very similar to the building of the MCU. Now we get it in video game format. And, you know, that's why I like the idea that Insomniac is also working on Wolverine, because I feel like eventually this is going to be in maybe 10 years from now. Maybe 15, we're going to be like, look at all these games and how they connect into this one universe. Insomniac with Marvel Direction gave us a video game as MCU. That would be lit. That would be so lit.
It would be.
Marvel is doing a thing that Star Wars is just trying to do, in which they're not just giving a property to one studio. They're spreading it out, because comic gamers have Guardians coming, Midnight Suns, Wolverine, yes, and Spider-Man 2. And technically, they're all kind of different, because Midnight Suns is going to be this card-based, turn-based game. Wolverine and Spider-Man might be the same, and then Guardians is going to be like its own thing, where it's like a mashup between like 2 different styles. And then what else is also coming down the pipeline? And their mobile games, I've heard, are absolutely insane.
Yeah, man.
I've heard some negative reviews about that Marvel's Champions and whatnot. Like, you know, some people aren't really into it. Mobile games are a tough one because a lot of them are very paid to play.
I've never played Champions, so
so
yeah. Breezy, let me get your thoughts on, like, let me get your most anticipated like game of the showcase, because we do have some other stuff that we need to move on to. We need to talk about
Forspoken, yes.
Forspoken.
So
okay, why?
Just like how they built up that story trailer, it's different. It's unique. It feels unique. If you guys read the article I put up, carefulspoilers.com, it's from the same studio that did Final Fantasy 15, and though that game didn't really end well when it first came out, the world that they made is gorgeous. Like, if you guys know that game, the city of Altissia is, at the time, was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in gaming. So for them to do something like that with this new world of Athia is going to be great. And I have faith in the writing cast, because Amy Hennig from Uncharted series from Uncharted 1 to 3 is on the team, and then they have the Star Wars Rogue One writer on it, Gary Whitta, on it. So I have complete faith in what they're going to do with that. That's going to be, after Horizon Forbidden West, that's going to be the next big hype for me.
Same. Yeah, I was saying earlier, like, besides the Marvel games, like, this is like my most anticipated game of anything that's been announced recently, because it just looks so different than anything else that they've been talking about. So very, very excited for Forspoken. Yeah. So that's gonna be our small little recap of the PlayStation Showcase. Just wanted to talk about, like, the Marvel games. We talked about God of War, talked about Forspoken, but we have so much other shit to talk about, guys. We still have 3 other main topics to talk about. Right now, we're gonna be talking about The Matrix Resurrections first official trailer. This trailer was absolutely insane. It gave us insight, just small little insights into what the film could potentially be about. There were so many different scenes that paid homage to the first movie, and I've seen a lot of comments online saying that, this feels more like a reboot instead of a fourth movie and a sequel, right? It feels like, I've even heard someone say it feels like The Force Awakens, like they're just creating a story just for a cash grab. And to that I say, I mean, it should feel like a reboot, right? The Matrix trilogy was the 6th iteration of the Matrix. So that trilogy is the 6th time that the war between the machines and Zion happened, right? Revolutions ends with the 7th iteration of the Matrix literally coming to light. And we're getting to see that. There's little bits and pieces in the trailer where we see that Neo was never unplugged. It appears that he never died in Revolutions. And in fact, he was re-uploaded into the Matrix, and he's being fed these blue pills. We also got to see Neil Patrick Harris playing this, like, therapy type program that wears blue glasses, by the way, also filling in and letting you know that, yeah, this is something we don't trust. Do not trust this guy, because everything that he has to say is to keep your mind trapped inside of the Matrix. Jessica Henwick has joined the franchise. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II has joined the franchise as what we can only assume as a younger version of Morpheus. I thought that was really, really sick. Morpheus and Neo and Trinity don't seem to have any memories of each other. So it's like, I want to get your favorite moments, your general thoughts on The Matrix Resurrections first trailer. Steve, I want to start with you.
First thoughts was, oh shit, that's Neil Patrick Harris. that was like my first thing, because I love Neil Patrick Harris and most of the shit that he does. I'm like, okay. So I was already like all in pretty much on that. I was like, yes, we get Neil Patrick Harris in another movie. But then just watching the movie, watching Yahya, he looks just like Morbius. He looks like a younger version of him and things like that. So I wonder how they're going to do that. I'm wondering if he's like a new program version of Morpheus or something like that, because we do catch him. If you see one of the clips, he's in a Mr. Smith uniform as well. There's a scene where he's running and he's in a Mr. Smith uniform. So I'm wondering what's all that tinkering with? Is he really Morpheus, or is he just like a agent and he looks like Morpheus or something like that? So I'm wondering how that's going to go.
An agent wouldn't offer him the red pill, though. That's the only thing. But I mean, who knows, right? Continue.
This is true. Yeah, but I mean, shoot, it could be anything. But I was just looking at that, and I was watching it, and then so we have So Alpha in Inside the Mind of a Blerd, shout out to him. He always has this theory where he believes that John Wick is the sleeper version, and then when he goes inside the program, it's Neo. He has this theory where he feels like they're tied together, intertwined. And like after watching it, I was like, oh, it kind of looks that way a little bit, even though I know that's just like something that's just a super fantasy that, you know what I'm saying, that everybody is in love with that theory. But it just like when I was watching that trailer, he immediately messaged me. He's like, see, and I'm like, all right, man. But yeah, overall that trailer was really action packed. I really enjoyed it. Neil Patrick Harris, like I said, is one of my favorite actors, and I definitely was super hyped to see him. And then yeah, just I want to see how it's gonna all play out, how it's gonna go. It definitely gives you that reboot feel. It definitely gives you that feel. But I'm all for it if that's what they're gonna give us. Like, fuck it. Like, I mean, we've been waiting for this long. Why not reboot it? And you still get to say you still get Keanu Reeves as Neo. I'm not complaining at all. It's not like they gave us a whole different Neo. So if you're gonna reboot it, why not give us the origin? You know, the original. So I'm not mad at it at all.
For me, the trailer gave me everything and nothing at the same time, which is what I love. Like I can only speculate about what the story is actually going to be about. But I just love the idea. First of all, the fact that Neo has some new crazy like powers. I mean, he is the Superman of the Matrix universe, and y'all know how I feel about Superman, so I fucking love it. I love.
I'm gonna pull up this image real quick. So this image on screen right now, Neo versus Morpheus, and we've definitely never seen him use any powers like this before.
Yeah, like, and I have to say, shout out to Yaya, boy, you getting the bag, boy. Y'all getting the bag. Let's go. I'm so hyped for that man, yo. I love him as the idea of young Morpheus. I think it's fitting. Trinity coming back. The only thing missing is from my beloved Mr. Agent Smith to pull up again. You know, I always forget how to say his name. But you've seen him as a Red Skull.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving.
You've seen him in Lord of the Rings, of course.
Facts.
I need him to be in this film. And if he is, and they're just like, hey, we're gonna hold off. We don't want to give you all the mark. I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna lose my shit if we get a cameo of him. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, just a cameo, because I want there to be a new threat, right?
Yeah.
And as far as like Morpheus being in this, like, we have to look at the title, right? The Matrix Resurrections. So I think we're going to see a lot of resurrections. And I have nothing to base this on. But what if we are several years in the future, Morpheus is already dead, and the one that we see is a literal reincarnation of that? Trinity died in Revolutions. What if this Trinity is also a resurrection? But how does that happen outside of the machine world? Because there is a moment in the trailer with Trinity, and I'm going to bring this up right here, where she's clearly jacked into the Matrix, right? So it's like, did the machines take her body, find some way to like reanimate her and replug her back into the Matrix? So the trailer acts like a lot of different, like, it begs a lot of different questions of what's going on.
Or even did they clone her? You know, not even reanimate, but did they clone her? Which is why we got a younger Morpheus, because at this point in the cloning stage, they just didn't have Morpheus go to that age, you know, to the age that we recognize Lawrence Fishburne as. I'm excited. You know, this movie is going to be great. Of course, it comes out both in theater and on HBO Max. It's a movie where, hey, you guys know me. I love my streaming platforms and whatnot, but this is one I definitely have to see in theaters. I already know that the sound effects is so, oh my god, it's gonna be fucking wild, man, fucking wild. So I need to see that for sure. I'm super excited. I was super excited. It's great. It's great. I love Keanu, yo. I can't. You can't. You know, and like Steve mentioned, I'm a big fan of Neil Patrick Harris. I'm so excited that he's in this movie. Bro. I really am. Whenever I think of Neil Patrick Harris, I just get happy. I'm like, you know, and really the only major exposure I have to him is How I Met Your Mother, and I love his character.
Oh man, cool.
How I Met Your Mother, you know. So seeing him in the Matrix, that.
Yeah. I wonder if he's gonna suit up.
I don't know. That would be really, really interesting. But yeah, man, I'm really interested in Jessica Henwick's character because this trailer plays a lot with colors, and the movie's gonna do that too, right? Jessica Henwick has blue hair. A lot of times, a couple of the scenes where we see Morpheus and Neo together, he's wearing red, right? What does this all mean? Because it looks like Jessica Henwick's character is taking Neo to go see Morpheus. But what does the colors all mean? Does it have any other deeper meaning? Why does she have a rabbit tattoo? Right? Like, because much like, not
They always
Trinity,
said
it was
follow
some
the rabbit.
right. There was some
Follow the
random
rabbit.
person in a club and he was following the white rabbit. So it's like he has to follow the white rabbit yet again. At the beginning of the trailer, we see a black cat, much like the first Matrix movie, where that was the first like glimpse of seeing a glitch in the Matrix. So there's so many different things, and again, it should feel like a reboot, like erasing an operating system and reinstalling it. You're going back to the base program and you're rebuilding from the ground up. So this film has a lot writing on it. I am very excited to see the 7th iteration of the Matrix, because again, the original trilogy was the 6th iteration. There's already been 5 other the ones before previously. So I'm very curious to see how they bring back Keanu. Was he never dead at all? Did they literally resurrect him? Because the Wachowskis have played Neo in this world to be like their Jesus character. So on the 4th movie, he rose again in accordance to the script. So it's like, I'm very, very, very excited for this. Breezy, like, do you have any thoughts on like the Matrix Resurrection trailer? Any excitement for the film?
I like the presentation of like the lead up into dropping the trailer, where they gave you the site link and you get to choose between the red and the blue pill, and when it happens in real time. So I signed in on like 27. I hit the red pill on like 12:27, and I said, okay, I'm curious. Let me hit the blue pill, and I said 12:28. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's kind of cool. So for the trailer, I'm just watching everything. Like, I'm just watching, not remembering a ton of the original trilogy, but wondering where they're gonna go. How are they gonna also try and push the technical aspects of this movie like they did for the original trilogy? And I'm pretty impressed by it. I might check it out. I'm not 100% sold on it, but I know, like, for a lot of people that I talk to that are really into the Matrix, they are like losing their minds.
Yeah, man, because if you're into the lore, right? If you're really, really into the lore of the Matrix, everything that we got in the teaser, it fits so well into what the Matrix is. Again, at the end of Revolutions, it ends with the 7th iteration of the Matrix. It ends with the reboot officially starting over. There is this character with this book of Alice in Wonderland, which is another reference to the original trilogy. People are speculating that this character is the resurrected version of the Oracle for this new iteration of the Matrix. So there's so many great things to dissect in this trailer, and I think I'm going to write another article just doing a deep dive breakdown and reconstruction of the trailer. So I think that's going to be really sick. I did do my first thoughts on the trailer, so you can look at that on the website, carefulforspoilers.com, to find out more of my thoughts on the trailer. But yeah, this was so much fun. I'm going to bring up this image of Morpheus right here in the rain with the 2 guns. Yaya, he's so good, man. Like, there's so many moments from this trailer where he instantly feels like Lawrence Fishburne's Morpheus, but he's doing his own thing, which is what an actor should do when they're taking over a role that someone else did. So, yeah, man, go back and watch the Matrix trailer a couple more times. Absolutely sick. There's so many hidden things in there. Can't wait to see Neo's new powers, how they work. The trailer also shows us, like, throughout the film, he's going to be unlocking the things in his memories that have been repressed, right? We believe that the blue pills are meant to repress his memories, but he can still tell that something's quite not right with the world, again, much like the original trilogy. So they're doing a really good job. Lana Wachowski is back directing it, writing it, so I'm excited. Let's fucking get it. So let's move on to our third main topic of the night. We're going to be talking about What If Episode 5, What If Zombies. man, this episode was a trip, man. Like, I knew this episode was going to be dark, but I did not think it was going to be this dark. And you would think after the last What If episode with Doctor Strange that I would fully understand that Marvel does not care about my feelings and they are going to crush my heart in every way that they possibly can. So how this What If event happens is that when Hank goes into the quantum realm to find Janet, she is infected with a quantum virus that gives the effects of a zombie. And when Hank comes back through the portal, bites Scott, the Avengers get bit, half the world is taken over in a week, and now we have the zombie apocalypse within the Marvel universe, right? So I love how all of this happened. Hulk, from the events of Infinity War, was beamed from Heimdall back to Earth into Doctor Strange's sanctum. No one's there. So let's get into the episode. That's pretty much like the whole crux of this entire story is that the team, Spider-Man, Okoye, Bruce Banner, and a couple other people, Hope, a couple other people there, they're trying to get to this military base where Captain America actually started his training. So I thought that was really, really cool. Camp Lehigh, I believe, is the name of it. But they have to go there to find this cure, to find a potential cure in order to try to reverse all this process. So I want to get your favorite moments from the episode because there were so many amazing moments, so many crazy reveals of our favorite Avengers as zombies. So Abe, I'm going to toss it to you and I want to know some of your favorite moments.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in order, of course. First, it is Tony Stark, Wong, and Strange eating them in the debris, in the cloud of debris. Then we go into the Okoye and how she took out Falcon with she cut that mug in half, boy. I was like, oh, okay, bet.
Which was dope because she plays Michonne in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it's like, of course, she know what to do with a blade. She know what to do with a blade. Mm-hmm. My next favorite scene was then Bucky catching the shield and throwing it back. After that, it was then Hulk versus Scarlet Witch. It was also Hope throwing a zombie at them when they were in the quadrant. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And then the final scene, zombie Thanos with an almost complete Infinity Gauntlet. In that exact order.
Can I jump in and say that's just not fair? That's not fair.
It's not.
It's not fair.
It's not. It's like, because you know what he's going to do with it? He's going to increase the human supply so that they can feed.
When he snaps his fingers,
it's all more normal humans, and you're like, hey, we're good. And then it's like,
he's gonna snap, turn everyone back, and now he has lunch forever.
Feed.
Oh boy, keep snapping. Just keep doing it over and
over. Or if the rumor is true that all these episodes are connected, he's going to use the Infinity Gauntlet to step into a new dimension. Although we also know that the gauntlets don't work outside of their own dimension. But who's to say that they can't open a portal into a new one?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't know. Because, I mean, if you snap it and you will it into existence, I mean, I guess you could do it.
It's just once you go through, it won't work. But does that matter for zombie Thanos? I mean, it's this is a new world with fresh food. Mm-hmm. Let's eat. And as you guys know, I've been tweeting on my personal Twitter. I'm reading the current Marvel zombie comics. I'm in its entirety in chronological order. So this week I covered Dead Days, which came out in 2012. So the Marvel's zombie storyline started, actually comic form started, I think, in 05, 06. So this one is 2012, but again, chronologically, this is basically the origin of it all. And what I've liked is that these zombies, and we saw that in this episode too, these zombies aren't just mindless monsters that need to feed. I mean, in the comics, they can talk. The heroes are still sentient. They are still self-aware. And while we didn't get any talking from the zombies in this episode, it was very, very obvious that they are still very much aware. I mean, we saw with how they fought. I mean, immediately off bat, portal opens, Iron Man uses his powers. If he was a mindless zombie, he wouldn't use his powers, you know?
Yeah, the portal wouldn't open if he was
exactly. I mean, the way Hawkeye, Falcon, Captain America, Scarlet Witch, and we have that moment where Scarlet Witch approaches Vision. It's like, all right, these zombies, while they may not talk, they are very much aware, and I like that they kept that similar to the comic stories. So next week, probably what was it on Tuesday, you'll catch the next issue of Marvel Zombies that I'll read. I'll live tweet that with pics and my own thoughts. It would actually be the Ultimate Fantastics comic. I'm excited for that. But hey, I was overall this was a very ambitious episode, and those were my favorite moments. Again, Hope throwing a zombie at the quad jet was hilarious to me. I was just like, there was no reason. There was no reason for it. But hey, why not? Why the fuck not? You feel me? It was hilarious, yo.
Breezy, what were some of your favorite moments?
Oh, favorite moments was the Winter Soldier catching and throwing back the shield. That's definitely up there. Parts of like it's a favorite moment, it's a sad moment, but like it let me know like how quickly this happens when Happy gets dragged into the darkness and then he comes back out blasting as a zombie. Blam. And like Okoye's fight with Falcon, this like, and the reveal of that Vision is keeping Winter Soldier, Scarlet Witch, locked up and feeding her T'Challa thigh for some reason.
It's food, man. Meat.
That just rubbed me the wrong way, and I just have like a massive respect for how Okoye went down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's just this episode, like it hits differently from whenever other properties do zombie things, and it still gives me like a World War Z vibe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very true.
It takes a lot of elements from a lot of different zombie stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that they're semi-sentient to who they were when they were human, but now that they're undead, they still have the ability to have all their fighting skills and all their powers. That was wild to me, and it just makes the Thanos thing just even more unfair.
Let me pull this up real quick, man, because Zombie Thanos looks so fucking cool. Like, just look at this, guys. Like, Zombie Thanos looks so fucking cool at the end of this episode. I love that he's smiling, because the Mad Titan always smiles, you know what I mean? And Peter, T'Challa, and Scott are literally bringing him the final stone that he needs, bro. It's crazy.
Oh,
Steve,
man.
There's gonna have to be like it's like only the Guardians left in this universe, and this is a Guardians that is not a T'Challa. It's like
Peter Quill.
It's still this.
You trust Star-Lord? You trust Star-Lord?
Absolutely not.
Right. Get Captain Marvel that's out there somewhere.
Unless she turned into a zombie, his raps.
Yeah, I doubt she was on Earth, but who knows?
Who said it's limited to Earth? You know?
That's the other thing.
But
like,
it's transferred by bite, though.
Yeah, but like, why
people travel every day? B.
Why wouldn't Thanos just leave and start infecting all the other planets?
Well, I mean, infecting them literally like stops his food source.
But I can see him being like, hey, it's kind of tough, so I'll be back because I need to get one more stone, but let me go to another planet because that's unlimited food.
Yeah. I love that this dude's just chilling in Wakanda, too. The last stronghold on the planet is already gone, which is a very zombie movie, zombie TV show type thing. You think that you're on the way to this sanctuary, everything's going to be fine, and then you get there, and then it's already been overrun by fucking walkers, bro. So Steve, let me get some of your favorite moments.
Oh, real quick, Steve, I have to say one more favorite moment. It's a series of moments. Is like when we get the cuts, the action shots of each introduction characters like Kurt, Bucky. Like, I was like, yo, this is so humorous and comedic. That was another favorite moment of mine. Continue on.
So my favorite moments are definitely the Spider-Man little tutorial video of how to take care of these zombies and things like that. I thought that was pretty funny. Happy's wearing the shirt, saving myself for Thor.
Hilarious, dude.
Yeah. And then of course the blam, blam, blam. That was hilarious to me. Happy is just funny as shit throughout the whole entire episode. So it's funny that he left pretty quickly. But I am with y'all on the whole Bucky catching the shield and cutting Zombie Cap in half. What else did I enjoy? One of my favorite moments is also really when the whole scene with Vision, where his Mind Stone is keeping all of the zombies at bay. I thought that was pretty dope, the way that they did that and they played with that. And then him actually removing it himself, much like how he's going to get it removed by Thanos, but it's just he does it himself. So that was pretty dope. And then the very last scene, of course, with being Thanos, which is basically the beginning is the end, because it's like completely, in a sense, you completely forget about it, because the whole reason why the episode starts, Bruce Banner shows up and he's like, Thanos is coming. And it's like it almost becomes a distant, you know what I'm saying, memory, because you're just like, oh, zombies, zombies, zombies. And then at the end, you see Thanos. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's what the episode was about. It's like, oh, yeah.
It's like, but still.
Yeah, he was still coming. You forgot. So it was just like, oh, yeah, that's what the episode was about. So I thought I really enjoyed that little last moment because of the fact that in the beginning, that was the end. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder how long Thanos survived until he got overrun.
That's a really good question.
I wonder who was it that probably turned him? When did it happen?
Probably was thumping people and all this other stuff, like kicking them out, and then he just got a small little nibble or something, and that's all it takes.
Because we saw with Hope, like we don't know when she.
Yeah, it wasn't even a bite. It was like a little scratch.
Yeah, because I mean, all you need is saliva, which would make sense actually. If she cut herself, wouldn't going inside of Hope and then Hope's like bodily fluids also cause infection? No, I'm not Hope. Sharon's.
Yeah. I know what you meant. I don't know. I don't know if that's how it works necessarily, because it looks like these rules are kind of like Resident Evil, where it's like saliva or a scratch, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a scratch that introduced like the virus into her DNA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. But this episode had a lot of great moments for me. Like, one of my favorite moments is just so simple. It's when Peter grabs Bruce right before he's about to be eaten, when Hope saves him. And I love their base of operations. I love that it's a bunch of like school buses like webbed together in like the middle of the city. I thought it was really, really cool. Getting to see Okoye was really, really dope. Watching her cut Falcon in half, it hurt my heart, but it was really cool to watch. Zombie Cap, I'm gonna pull that up right now. I thought that train sequence was really, really cool. Getting to see Zombie Cap versus Bucky, when Bucky says this is the end of the line. Oh man, that broke my heart, man. But watching him pick up the shield, thought that was sick. Much like you, Steve, with Peter pretty much vlogging how to survive the zombie apocalypse. That was very Zombieland. A lot of this movie is very like Dawn of the Dead, very Walking Dead, very 28 Days Later. So I love that they took all of these different elements from these zombie properties and put it into one thing. Once we got to the military base and we saw Vision, and we get that look from Vision that something is a little off, I was like, no, he's keeping Wanda alive and feeding her body parts. And then we get to the basement, and he's been feeding her whole people. He's been feeding her T'Challa's legs. So that was crazy. My favorite shot of the entire episode is this right here. Wanda in the hallway after she breaks out. This was straight out of a James Wan movie. Straight out of a James Wan movie. Down in a hallway, the red light, the silhouette of her in the back, like the synth score that came in when she comes on screen. absolutely fucking terrifying. Like you, Abe, the fight between her and Hulk, Hope's sacrifice, getting to see her go big and sacrificing herself, going through the Horde to get them to that moment. Incredible moments in this episode, man. Like, had an absolute blast, and like all you guys, I completely forgot that Thanos was even in this. And then you get to the end, and Wakanda's been overrun. Thanos is literally standing there waiting for Peter to bring him the Mind Stone. Incredible episode, man. Like, there's so much great shit that happened. I'm going to bring up this shot of Janet from the beginning. This honestly broke my heart. Right, when we find out about the quantum virus and she's patient zero, this broke my heart to see her like that, man. But yeah, this was a really, really good episode. What If is doing bids right now. Like, they can't do any wrong. We still have Killmonger being saving Tony Stark. We still have to get Gamora we still have to get Gamora the Mad Titan. We're still getting the Vision. Ultron Vision episode.
Which, yo, JB, you've been speaking on that for a while. I went on IMDb, and the description of that episode, which is the last episode of the What If season, matched up with what you proposed. I was like, oh,
I don't know what he said. Hold on, let me look.
Yeah, nah, he been speaking on this for a couple of weeks. Every time he mentions the Ultron Vision episode, I'm like, that description sounds accurate.
Yeah, so
I don't
real
know whether
quick,
someone hacked it, but
real quick, my thoughts was, this is what if Ultron successfully transferred his consciousness into Vision, and then he takes over the world, takes all of the Infinity Stones, and now he rules, much like the real Age of Ultron, because that's something we did not get in the MCU. So I think they're going to give us Age of Ultron in What If, but it's the twist on the MCU where he actually transfers himself into Vision's body, and then he uses his old Ultron body as armor, as extra armor. So, dude, if that's the case, I'm going to fucking lose it. I am going to lose it.
It's looking like that may be the case. It's looking like, yo, you might be spot on, JB. You batting 1,000. You batting 1,000 on this show.
James
baby.
Doesn't miss.
He don't.
I miss, just not often.
I haven't. I have yet to witness a miss. I have yet to. You've been speaking on this for weeks. They ain't revealed the details. Then I was just like, yo, you know what? Let me hop on IMDb for the first time. Let me see like what's the info. Okay, next week we're gonna get the Killmonger episode. Cool. I'm like, all right. They said there's still unknown information about the other ones. Just like, wait, but they gave us information for the last episode. Oh, that's the Ultron one. Let me read the description.
What if?
Ain't this what JB was saying?
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
What if they IMDb is lying? You know, they'd be like, yo, JB been talking too much. We don't want him to be right, so let's just say it is. But then we gonna.
I mean, like Wikipedia, registered users can update IMDb, so I don't follow it that often, honestly. But yeah, man, I hope that's the case. I hope Gamora becomes like the Mad Titan, simply because, like, I don't know, maybe Thanos died on Titan, like some of his other people. He died on Titan, and she had the same ideology. What if Gamora had Thanos' ideology? So she decided to kill half the people on her planet so that they can sustain life, and then she decides, you know what, I should just do this throughout the galaxy, and she goes out throughout the galaxy murdering half of planet's populations, essentially taking over her father's role within the Marvel universe. I think that would be really interesting. What do you guys think?
Easily. I mean, there's a possibility too that maybe if all these stories are interconnected, maybe this is the Gamora from the same timeline, the same universe, I mean, where Star-Lord did talk down Thanos. And Gamora's like, well, shit, I don't believe that, John. I'm going to pick up where you left off and continue the mission. Who knows?
Good point.
It makes sense. And that could definitely be the reason why we see a second Star-Lord, second Chadwick Boseman Star-Lord, because if I'm not mistaken, we seen him in the trailer, that you get the second showing of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. And then also you have, I guess you're supposed to have the second coming of Captain Carter and evil Doctor Strange supposed to somehow run into each other. Or
yeah,
unless
we'll see.
So I'm wondering how this is all going to play out. I'm definitely excited to see the Gamora, how they're going to do that Mad Titan episode. I really want to know how they're going to do this Killmonger Iron Man joint. This was the one that I've been looking forward to since the first trailer. I just want to see how that's going to play out. I actually watched the first Iron Man yesterday because I was like preparing myself for this episode that's coming out. So I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out. Because then you get the King Killmonger. If that's how that's going to play out, he's going to be noble or something like that, and end up being the king. That's just going to be, it's going to be crazy. So I'm excited for these. What, we got 3 episodes left?
4
episodes. Okay, yeah. So
yeah, I think it would make sense for King Killmonger to take place in the same universe as when T'Challa became Star-Lord, because with him missing, the next king up would be him, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, what is his Wakanda name? Is it Unjobo? I can't remember his Wakanda name.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. Yeah.
I think so. Or that might be his father's name. I can't remember exactly. But that could be the case. Like, he could be next up to be king because T'Challa isn't there to be king, to be the next one up. So, yeah, man, What If has been giving us some great shit. And I can't wait to see where it all goes from here.
We need like an actual confirmation that in this season that these things are starting to connect, and then it just opens up the entire show for all kinds of crossovers.
I feel like
we still don't know what the planet that Ego has.
Yes. I definitely want to see a continuation of some of these episodes.
Because T'Challa, spoiler alert, T'Challa Star-Lord is allegedly in this final episode of What If with the Ultron episode, because it's the revamped Guardians of the Galaxy who is fighting Ultron, the Defenders of the Galaxy, whatever they called them, and the thumbnail showed T'Challa Star-Lord. So if this is the same T'Challa Star-Lord that we were already introduced to, unless this is a different universe where the same thing kind of happened, or T'Challa Star-Lord was brought into this universe, it'd be kind of interesting to find out. So how does Ego still play into this? And if Ultron is the big bad of the final episode, what happened to Ego's plan? I'm very curious. I'm definitely curious.
Yeah, man. And I really hope that it's Ultron as the final villain, because like I said before, they did not do him justice in Age of Ultron at all. I am not a fan of the petulant child of Tony Stark. Not a fan at all, right? Ultron from the comics, Ultron from Age of Ultron, that's the shit that I want to see. So, and they've been doing that. I feel like Kevin Feige and the team have recognized some of the missteps that they've taken, and they're using What If, they're using these series to fix those mistakes.
Absolutely.
So I think it would be great for the finale of What If to literally be Age of Ultron. I think that'll be fucking sick. Where Ultron not only gets the perfect body and vision, but also controls all 6 Infinity Stones. Go ahead, Reezy.
I saw a tweet from somebody online that says, What If is just Marvel fan fiction. They were out of line, but they're right.
I mean, yeah, it is, though. I mean, that's exactly what it is. What if this happened? Which is what the fans want. You know what I mean?
But
what if Deadpool destroyed the Marvel Universe? What if Doctor Doom got the Infinity Gauntlet?
That's what all these what if stories are. Technically, they are fan fiction, you know? It's just that when you have a multiverse, you can make these fan fictions canon. You can make them actually real. Well, you can have these fun stories that don't affect the main comic storyline. So honestly, it was a great idea by Marvel, and it shows how much they plan to already do this. Like one thing we can talk about in regards to Feige, the MCU, is that they know what the hell they're doing when it comes to planning. And JB, similar to what you said, something that I've always said is that lately they've done a great job of retconning some of their mistakes. I mean, as we get ready to talk about Shang-Chi, you know, a big mistake. Even though they came out with Hail to the King beforehand, they reiterated that mistake and acknowledged it, and it's like, all right, let's fix it, because they knew that they effed up with it. So that's why I'm excited for this Ultron episode, because they owe us a great Age of Ultron story. It's why I was a big fan of the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, because they fixed Zemo. They butchered Zemo in Civil War. But in Falcon and Winter Soldier, we got a better Zemo. Even though it's the same character and whatnot, they were like, all right, let's make him more badass than we originally did. Let's work on him and elevate him as a status. So I completely trust what the MCU is doing right now, what they're doing with all their content. They're setting the ship right. So hopefully that means that the Thor trilogy gets a lot of the stuff that they did wrong, especially in Dark World, kind of gets fixed too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. With Thor 4, we know he's going to be in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies to some degree going forward. They're gonna fix all of those things that we had issues with, man. Like, I think the first Thor movie is a fine movie. Dark World is where the misstep happens, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Breezy, let me get your final thoughts on this What If episode, and then we're gonna be moving into Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, so like this episode is like is really up there. It's like number 2 for me, because just that ending with Thanos being a zombie, it's just like, oh no, this is also incredible that they could do things like this. And I am just all in hooked. It's week to week watching. I might even have to wake up like 6 a.m. just to make sure I get it out of the way, so my timeline is free for me to see spoilers.
Yeah, man, I'm actually going to start like waking up at like 2 a.m. and just watching it, because I also want to have like screenshots for the timeline, you know. Like I've been able to take some really good screenshots of like the different episodes recently, like what we have on the Twitter feed right now on the website. You can go look at some of like my favorite screenshots from like the episode. So yeah, I also want to avoid spoilers, and I want to get out like screenshots and other content for you guys out there. But yeah, man, Breezy, this was a lot of fun having you on. Next time we talk about games, we got to get you back, bro.
Yes, just bring me into pinch it on gaming.
Yeah, man. For those of you that don't know, Breezy is like one of my oldest friends ever. Love this guy. We're working on C4S together. Obviously, he is our senior games writer over at C4S. So most of the 95% of any gaming content you see, it is written by my boy here or posted by him. So make sure you follow him on Twitter. I'll add his Twitter link to the description below. Make sure you guys follow Breeze on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Follow the articles on carefulfootspoilers.com. We got so much lit content coming for you guys in the future.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking I'm doing at least one more of the what is explainer articles. I haven't decided which one it is yet. It depends on what information else what other information I can find that would help people like understand what game they should be looking out for.
Yeah, and I love your What If series. Like, it just shows you absolutely everything you need to know about this game before you buy it. So go check out Breezy's What Is series on the website. There's like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 at this point. So go and check them out. Super cool deep dives on these games. So yeah, head over there.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Bye, Breezy. See ya.
Good to finally talk to you.
See you in the chat, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it is time to move on to our Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings spoilers discussion. I have been waiting for this shit since I saw it last week, and I am so glad that I'm here to talk about it with you guys. At this point, I've seen Shang-Chi twice. Loved it more the second time around. The first time I saw it, I gave it a 4 out of 5. There were some issues that I have. We'll get into a couple of those things in the spoiler portion. But after I saw it again, I gave it a 4.5, and it went higher up in my rankings of my MCU films. So here, we're going to be talking about our general thoughts, non-spoiler. We're going to talk positives, negatives, favorite moments, and where it ranks within the MCU as a whole. And then we might talk about where it ranks in terms of like origin films within the MCU. This film was directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who I thought did an incredible job. He also wrote this with Dave Callahan. I believe I'm saying that correctly. And Andrew Lanham. Score is by Joel P. West, who I think does an incredible job with the score. The Shang-Chi score might be like my top 2, top 3 favorite MCU scores, period. So definitely check out the Shang-Chi score if you haven't already. Definitely check out the movie if you haven't already. Like we already talked about in the beginning, at the time of us going live, it's already made $162.2 million. So really, really impressed with that. Simu Liu stars as Shang-Chi, and then we have Tony Leung as Wenwu, aka the Mandarin, Aquafina as Katie. So we have some a really good cast. Tony Leung is beyond incredible. For me, he was one of the biggest standouts. Like, he does such an incredible job emoting all of his feelings, just from his facial expressions, his eyes. Simu Liu is an incredibly charismatic actor. I think he's great. I love his friendship with Aquafina's character Katie. I love the martial arts sequences in this film. The VFX are incredible. That opening fight sequence is easily top 5, one of my favorite sequences in the MCU. I love kung fu movies. It instantly reminded me of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and man, fucking love this movie. So I already gave my general thoughts. Steve, I want to pass it to you. Let me get your general non-spoiler thoughts on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
I really fucking enjoyed the fights. The fights and everything was just great. It was everything we wanted Mortal Kombat fights to be. Like, it was just like the fights were just dope. I'll say that a lot of the fights I loved when Shang-Chi was fighting. It reminded me of just old Jackie Chan movies. Just him using his environment to like hit people and jump off of stuff. And I really enjoyed that. I always enjoyed Jackie Chan movies for that. And the fact that they kind of threw that in there, I thought that was really dope. I enjoy seeing that every time that he fought, he kind of was using the environment. He kind of uses like a plank as a seesaw kind of hit thing. It was pretty dope. I really enjoyed that. So the fight sequences is like one of my highest things. One thing that I didn't really care for too much was Trevor. I'm just
save that because we're gonna talk general thoughts first, and then we'll talk about negatives first, and then positives. So yeah, we'll get there.
So yeah, but I mean, other than that, like generally, it was just a really dope movie. I enjoyed the fights and things like that. I enjoyed some of the little small differences that they have in this movie compared to the comics, things like that. And yeah, like without going into spoilers, that's all I got.
Abe?
For me, I expected the fight cinematography to be stellar. It did not disappoint. I was really excited. The visuals were A1, you know. In recent years, when it comes to comic book movies, the one movie that I enjoyed aesthetically and is my number one like visual comic book movie was Aquaman. Just because I love marine life. I love everything about
James Wan, the GOAT.
Yeah, James, man. While I personally didn't enjoy the movie overall, aesthetically, I just loved the visuals was great. This movie visually appealed to me. The soundtrack was fire. The comedy was really good. It did not feel forced. Y'all know me. What was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? I spoke about how, like, hey, look, man, the comedy in the MCU don't really always hit with me, such as Thor 3. Still think it's a trash film, but whatever. But whatever. This one, Shang-Chi, the comedy was not forced. Aquafina, I'm not the biggest fan of her, but she really, really thrived in this film. She hit her lines, her dialogue, the character development was great. Simu, man, he was solid. Like every character, his sister, the Tony, I don't know how to say his name.
Tony Leung.
Last name, Tony Leung, as Wenwu, spectacular. Their mother, spectacular. It's just there was no missing in terms of the acting, you know, for me, and I was just very pleased. It's a movie that has easy replay value. You know, and not a lot of MCU movies can you say that, like, hey, let me just throw this on without having to watch anything beforehand. This one is one of the better origin stories. Not saying it's number one because Iron Man is still number one, in terms of the best origin movies in the MCU.
Facts.
But you gotta put Shang-Chi top 3, top 4 personally. I had a lot of fun watching the film. Honestly, I had a lot of fun watching the film. It just really appealed to multiple facets of my fandom. You know, as an MCU film, as a martial arts film, as a not too heavy but comedic still film, as an emotional film, because it definitely pulled on the heartstrings. It definitely pulled it. I know. I read an article where the director wanted to make sure Wenwu was a 3-dimensional character. They didn't want him to be just a flat villain. He did a great job of doing that. Whether you sympathize with him or not, objectively, you can be like, Wenwu's decisions, like his character development from when you meet him to when he has the family, to when he reverts back to the Mandarin, to when the final sequence, the final battle, it just flowed well. It made sense. It was very relatable. Great film. Easily a 9 out of 10 for me. Easily a 9 out of 10.
Facts, man. And I love what they did with Wenwu's character, because the Mandarin, depending on when you read him, a divisive type of character. I love that they changed up the exact mysticism of the 10 rings. For those of you who don't know, in the comics, the 10 rings are 10 physical rings that possess the souls of cosmic beings, and each ring has different powers, different attributes that the Mandarin uses to do his thing, right? The new 10 rings, I think this is a really unique idea in the way that they're used. You can tell that it was designed, the way that when Wu uses them is this cool way of combat, to where he can fight entire armies on his own. I love that they've also essentially made the Mandarin the Ra's al Ghul of the MCU. A warlord who has lived for 1,000 years, who has toppled nations and conquered armies over time and all over all across the world. I love the fact that they kind of made him this like Ra's al Ghul type character for the MCU. The way that the 10 rings gives him seemingly immortality. So I thought that was really cool as well. So let's get into negatives, right? And we can start getting into spoilers here, because we're going to talk negatives first, positives / favorite moments. So big negative for me, like Steve was about to say, big negative for me was the re-edition of Trevor, right? And I talked about this on the Popaholics podcast, and the boys over there were talking about the fact, like, if you are a fan of Trevor from Iron Man 3, you'll love him in this film. And if you're not, you're going to hate it, right? So like me, I am not a fan of Trevor, right? I hate the gag character. I'm already over it, right? From Iron Man 3, we got All Hail the King that told us, yeah, the real Mandarin is really out there. He captured him and imprisoned him and seemingly killed him. So I thought he was dead this whole time. And then for us to see him, and then he has no real purpose in this film but to reiterate information that we already know, and to get our heroes from one end of the moving forest to the entrance of Talo. And I think it's absolutely useless, because all of that arc could have been given to Xialing, right? Xialing gets some development in the film. You definitely empathize with her and see where she's coming from. But while she was separated from her brother, while her father never paid any attention to her, that would have been a perfect moment for Xialing to find Talo, to find the other half of her family, to find some connection to another part of herself, right? That should have been given to Xialing, because at the dinner scene, which is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, is when Wu already reiterates what happened and gave us that connection to Iron Man 3. That someone took on the moniker of my 10 rings, of my name, and renamed it the Mandarin, because he didn't know what to call me, because I've gone by so many different names over the past 1,000 years. You know, so he already gives us that dialogue. We already have All Hail the King. So Trevor is absolutely useless. All of that development could have been given to Xialing giving her more impact to the overall story. She could have met when Shang-Chi goes to visit her and he wants to know more about like the necklaces and stuff. She could have been the person that gave him that knowledge. Mom gave us these necklaces because they are the keys to finding the entrance to Talo. Right? That could have been really good for her character for her first film. Yeah, of course, we're going to see her in future movies and future properties, but that could have been something really cool to show the type of character that she is, how driven she is to find this other part of her family, that she was able to find a path through the forest to Talo. So, said a lot, but that was really one of my only negatives. My only other negatives was the fact that, and it's an MCU problem, this isn't a Shang-Chi problem, where the deaths and sacrifices can sometimes feel weightless, right? At the end of the film, people are losing their souls, and what do? We count to Trevor on the floor playing dead for a joke. People are losing their souls. Yeah. These people who have dedicated their entire lives to protecting Talo and to protecting this entrance from the Soul Eater, and then we're cutting to fucking jokes. This is a huge MCU problem that I have, which is why I moved Shang-Chi from a 4 to a 4.5, because that's not the movie's problem. That's an MCU's problem. But Trevor was my biggest issue. He could have been taken out of the film. The film wouldn't have changed, and Xialing would have had more motivation. But I said a lot, Steve. I want to pass it to you because I know you also had an issue with Trevor.
Yeah, so with me, I watched Shang-Chi, and then I watched All Hail to the King. So the first time, I didn't really have as much of an issue with Trevor. And then after watching All Hail to the King and then doing a rewatch of the Shang-Chi, I was like, why is he here? It just kind of felt, like the first time when I did watch it, like I said, I did not know about All Hail to the King. Actually, I saw someone talk about it. They was like, make sure you watch this. And once I watched that part, it was like, okay, so you've basically buried the hatchet. We really don't need him anymore. And All Hail to the King, they gave us the little sample size of everything that we needed to know about the real Mandarin, about things that him basically playing the system and this, like things like that. He was captured. Like JB said, we thought he was dead. I really was over it. Like after seeing, I was like, okay, so now watching it the second time, there's no point to have him in this movie. And it was more so like he was just using him for comedic relief, like you said, things like that. He was reiterating things that didn't need to be done. And though I do like Ben Kingsley as an actor, I just didn't enjoy him in this scene, in the movie. I think that was like one of my only gripes about the movie for the most part.
Yeah, man, like it's just pointless, and he's just in it for the gags, right?
Yeah.
And
he was, I don't know if he's supposed to be their Wong or he's supposed to be their version of that for their movie, but every movie doesn't need that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need that.
Yeah, man. Abe, did you have any negatives from the film?
I'm not one. I don't believe in 10 of 10 films just because saying no film is perfect, but for me, I don't have any major gripes that I can harp on. When it came to Trevor, I understand what you guys are saying. I don't disagree with both of you in terms of, that was time that could have been spent on other characters, and especially the character development of Shang-Chi's sister. But I see Trevor as a necessary tool to give Morris screen time. Morris was so precious. Oh my God, Morris was so dope. Oh,
Morris could have been with Xialing.
She should. That would have made her. Morris is a very cute, heartfelt. Xialing, at that time was not that. And by the end of it, she's low-key still not that. Given how the movie ends and what we see happen with her. So I don't mind Trevor. I feel like if they spent more time on Trevor, I would have been upset. Honestly, me and everybody else in the theater was laughing our ass off when we saw Trevor playing dead, and we were like, oh, Morris is sad. It's like, hey, Morris, it's a performance, it's playing dead. And you just see Morris be like, oh, and then just go belly up. Like, it was hilarious. But
yeah,
the funny
it was funny, but it's like literally in the background, someone's soul is being ripped out, and we're making jokes.
Hey, look, people die every day, B. You know, I felt no sadness at people getting their soul snatched. Like, you know, it happens. It happens. Okay.
See, now I would think that would be the opposite because you are the one that don't like jokes and things like that. So
I'm telling you, you know what? Maybe my heart is starting to soften a little bit. I don't know why, but I thought, you know, sometimes there can be humor. I mean, hey, I like consequences. I like death. Doesn't mean that I get sad over it. I just like watching it, you know. And then the souls getting snatched up. I was like, yeah, people die every day, B. You know, I was glad that they weren't like, spoiler, you know, even though we got into this part, I was glad it was like, hey, we beat the big bad, everybody comes back to life. That would have pissed me off. That would have pissed me off for sure. I was glad that didn't happen. So I was like, hey, yeah, dog. I mean, them niggas was gonna die anyway. Who cares? But you know,
I care.
Well, here's one thing I did not like is the dialogue from was it Razor Blade or Razor
Fist.
Razor Fist. I wasn't a big fan of his dialogue, really.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
especially when they decided to team up, and he's like, "No, well, we don't need you. We'll take care of this ourselves." And then you see, what was the name of that one assassin, the trusted advisor, with the white mask? I forgot
What,
the name.
Death Dealer?
Death Dealer. Yeah, Death Dealer getting snatched up as a first victim. I was like, damn, I was low-key loving Death Dealer's design. I really would have liked to see more of that, especially Death Dealer to survive. But then it wouldn't have made sense for the eventual team up. But Razor Fist be like, yeah, we don't need y'all. It's like, hey, yeah, so we'll team up. I'm like, first of all, who are you to command this army and to make such decisions? I felt like you're stepping outside of your ranking.
Again,
you are assuming
ill-timed humor.
Yeah, so that part I didn't find funny. I didn't really like, but not enough to really like hate the film. But overall, I just had a very positive, you know, similar to you. I know both of you had an overwhelming positive reaction to the film. But if I was to say this was something I didn't like, it was really just Razor Fist's character once he started talking, rather than just being the muscle. I was just like, you know, like, hey, that's my car, and I'm like, that's a trash ass car. First of all, like, you are
fucking
essentially
product placement.
Yeah, you are essentially like what, like the right hand, the second in command, maybe third in command to the Mandarin, to Wen Wu, and you have this flamboyant like car. Like, what is this? Is this amateur hour? Like,
they didn't want to say his name, and we needed a BMW car commercial for the movie.
Like, oh my gosh,
with this damn name on it. It's like, hey, I'm a villain. There's my name. Like, it's like, just didn't.
Like, you already walk around with no hand in the metal.
Yeah, just call him Razor Fist. Like,
just call
we have Taser Face in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like,
just say it.
Yeah, mind you, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 forced the comedy as well, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, so let's get into the more positive moments from the movie. Let's start right at the beginning, where we get the introduction to Wen Wu, and I really appreciate that. Like, the first 10 minutes or so of this film is all in Mandarin. I thought that was really important.
Yes,
really important, because previously I was watching G.I. Joe Snake Eyes, right? The Snake Eyes origin, and there's a bunch of Japanese characters in that film. And they don't ever speak Japanese, right? Like, they choose the most like generic moments to use Japanese, like shine, like, it's just like, yes, we know it means die. Yes, cool. You said shine. Yeah, someone Japanese said the word. They said the thing, right? But it's so important to have these characters speak their native language, right? Why should they speak English for us? We should be reading subtitles. Right, so I love that opening sequence. I love the score in the beginning as well. The backstory of what was his wife's name? Jaeyoung, I believe is her name. But yeah, I love her her narration of Wen Wu finding the 10 rings. Did he find it in a crater? Did he find it in a tomb? And we get to see him actively take out an entire army using the 10 rings. We get the
Rings.
backstory of him using the 10 rings over hundreds of years in order to take control, in order to have power, right? And more power. So what do you guys think of that opening sequence right up until he tries to find Talo?
Dog.
I
Go
enjoyed
ahead. Steve.
I enjoyed it, and like that was the first time where you get to see the rings in action, in the sense where you see them fight, and you're like, oh, yo, these aren't just rings that he's putting on his hands; they're actually like bracelets, like the giant, you know what I'm saying, bracelets. And then he uses them in the scene, and it didn't look goofy. It didn't look like one of those things where it was going to be too CGI'd up or anything like that. It actually looked really dope. Just him using it kind of like as a whip, in a sense, as a weapon and things like that. I thought that was really dope. That scene in general, because it was just, you could have really blown that scene, and they actually made it look really, really good. So I definitely enjoyed that. I enjoyed that he's using it like as those bracelets. I've seen them in movies. Only movie I can think of is right now is Kung Pao, when he's got the little bracelets and things like that. But I don't know what they're called, but I thought that was a dope twist on the rings rather than using them as, you know what I'm saying, actual rings from the comics. I thought that was really dope.
Yeah, I have to echo Steve's sentiments. This was, if it came off as goofy, corny, it would have ruined the whole movie for me. You know,
exactly.
And they did a great job of basically impressing me. You know, not only first of all, he's riding in with his army. There's an army waiting at him, and like you can tell they're nervous, but we tell there's a battle, and we have the narration going on, and it's like you mentioned, JB, is not in English. We got subtitles. It's just perfect. It's perfect because this is a movie. Like, how often have we seen Hollywood films be whitewashed? You know, and they really take away from. You look at the Great Wall. You look at Gods of Egypt. I mean, you look at, there's so much we could name, right?
Exodus, Gods and Kings, where Sigourney Weaver was an Egyptian queen.
And I love Sigourney, but like, come on, man.
The Last Samurai.
Right? and Last Samurai is actually a movie I've rewatched several times because I enjoy it, but at the end of the day, it is whitewashed as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have, like you mentioned, JB, we have subtitles. They're speaking Mandarin. Perfect. We have the armies coming to meet, and then he just rides out himself, and you're like, oh, okay. All right, you're telling us about who this man is. He sought power or whatnot. Okay, so what makes him so impressive that this man dares ride up? And of course, we get the volley of arrows. And you know, every time I think of a volley of arrows, I think of Helm's Deep and Lord of the Rings. And what does he do? These bracelets that he's wearing, like you mentioned, Steve, they're not just accessories.
Mm-hmm.
He starts using them as whips to shield and deflect the arrows. And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
All right. And then what does he do after that? He propels himself into the air to land amongst the enemy forces. And you're like, oh, okay. And then what does he do after that? Extend the range and uses them as whips. Taking it, I'm like, oh, okay.
They
like,
did not waste opportunities, because they could have definitely made that look cheesy. Easily. And they killed that. I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, okay, I'm already liking where this is going.
Yeah, it was impressive. I was like, it hooked me. It was the perfect way to get me interested, to get me really like set on this film and be like, I'm here.
And the perfect way to show you what the 10 rings can do.
Exactly.
Right? For general audiences and for comic book fans, because we know that these 10 rings are nothing like it is in the comics. So it's great for us to see, okay, well, how can they be used in battle? And dude, it's amazing. That opening fight sequence with him taking out that entire country was amazing. We get the further narration and we get to like present day kind of, where he has conquered the world. There's nothing else for him to do, so he finds this map and he wants to visit the mystical world of Talo, where there's ancient magic, ancient creatures. And then he takes a jeep, goes with some men, tries to get there. Their jeep gets thrown off of a cliff by the forest that's alive. I think that's a really great concept, that the forest itself is alive and is protecting Talo from everything that's inside of this other dimension. So I thought that was really, really cool. Another thing that this film does is introduce other dimensions, right? Because we've only gotten a tease of that from Doctor Strange, and in Loki and stuff like that. So far, we've experienced different timelines, different universes, but different dimensions is something completely different, because we have this dimension within our own world. So they get thrown out. Wenwu is the only one that survives, and then he finds this amazing garden, right? Which I'm gonna assume is in the middle of the forest, and he meets Jia Young, and they have this incredible fight, bro. I got goosebumps. My jaw was on the floor just watching this incredible fight sequence just happen in front of me. The incredible score that happens over that fight sequence. It felt like something straight out of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The cinematographer for this film, Bill Pope, did the cinematography for the Matrix trilogy, for Spider-Man 2, for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So this is the guy that understands like how these fight sequences should look, and especially for a comic book movie. So I really love that opening fight sequences. Like I said, in my general thoughts, it's like top 5 favorite sequences in the MCU. So what did you guys think of that fight between Wenwu and Jia Young?
Beautiful, 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 beautiful fight. Very just visually pleasing, especially since, you know, like we were just introduced to how badass Wenwu was. Like already you're looking at it like, damn, like who gonna whoop this man's ass? Who's gonna stop him? And then you get introduced to this woman who doesn't barely speaks, just moves so fluidly. You know, you don't waste time on dialogue. And she's out here not breaking a sweat against this man who's getting frustrated. It's like, hey, shorty, you know who I am? I'm Wenwu, Mom. I'm fucking Wenwu of the 10 Rings. Like, I've conquered civilizations. Who do you think you are? You just stand here in this forest, just dilly-dallying all day, and she is beating this man's ass. He attacks with the rings, and he's like, "Oh, those these mine now. Let me use them against you." I'm like, dog, she is badass. She humbled this man.
And they're using my favorite word. Yeah, she's using a form of Tai Chi. It's her fighting style is based off of Tai Chi, and I absolutely love that they're bringing in like real like martial arts elements into this, and how they explain that she gets her powers from the Great Protector in the other dimension.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Like you saw when she dragged her foot in a circular motion, and you saw how the fauna, the leaves picked up the elements that she used against him, and it was such a beautiful one-on-one fight. I loved it. I thoroughly loved it.
The choreography looked like almost like they were dancing.
Yes,
good. Like it just really looked good. They looked like that. It looked like that was their moment where they not only were fighting, they were falling in love, and it seemed like a crazy sequence with that. It just really was nice.
And it was like brawn and power versus finesse and skill. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. and I always love how, you know, not everybody does a great job of really capturing how different those are, but in that moment, it taught you like, yeah, he may have the 10 rings, but you rely on brute force alone ain't gonna do it. Like, hey, this could be beat. Look at how graceful she is. Like you mentioned, Steve, is dancing.
Yeah,
it's just she's dancing with him, and in the moment, like you mentioned, he's falling in love, and low-key she is too.
Yeah,
and it becomes a sort of courtship. I just love how they managed to capture all of that in a fight. And we're still in the opening acts of the film,
right? Like it's very wuxia, which is like when they take like kung fu movies and like base them in like with like love stories and stuff. So pretty much like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that would be considered like a wuxia like type like kung fu type movie. So really good, man. Steve, what did you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like I was much like that. It just looked like they were mostly like dancing. It looked really, really good. Just like how you said it, where it's kind of gave you that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the forest sequence, and with the colors and everything like that. How the forest really stands out. It's very bright and it stands out in the background. But it definitely looked really good. Like I thought that it was the choreography felt kind of like a dance and it kind of felt like a poetic ballet type of thing going on. And I just really enjoyed the fact that, like how you said, it was the bronze versus the witty, the quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you can do all this, but if you don't, tone it back some, you're gonna lose every fight because I just have this finesse with it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm very meticulous and I'm very on point with the way that I'm doing my fights, where you're just coming from a different brawn attitude, anger, strength. You think that's the only way to win a fight. And she's pretty much in a sense showing like there's different ways to do this. And I definitely I enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, man, I love it because this is the first time in 1,000 years he's actually met someone that can keep up with him and
Mhm.
also beat him, right? He's
Mhm.
also never seen someone utilize the Ten Rings by taking it from him and changing how it works, right? Like the blue color is very dry, it's very like monotone, and the
Mhm.
yellow colors indicate light, right? And life.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I love the parallels between when she uses the Ten Rings and when he uses them, and then we get that parallel later on in the at the end of the film where Shang-Chi is using the
Is
Ten
using
Rings,
him
and
in terms
and
of gold.
um and Wen Wu can see his wife in his son, which is amazing. And then I love how throughout this film we peel back the layers more and more of Shang-Chi's backstory, right?
Mhm.
So we cut to young Shang-Chi and his mother giving him the necklace, letting him know that if you ever feel lost, this is how you find your way home. And I
Mhm.
absolutely love that because I didn't pick it up the first time. It wasn't until the second time it was like, oh yeah, that's right. She said that because the pendants are the keys to finding the map to Ta Lo, which is home. So I
Mhm.
thought I thought that was absolutely beautiful, and then we get that cut to years later where we see Sean in bed. He wakes up, and then we get that incredible rap beat. I can't remember what the guy's name is that produced it. Someone put it in chat. You guys can remind me. But I love that track that introduces Shang-Chi, and then we get to the scene where he's the valet, and we think it's gonna be him getting out the car, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
some other guy, and then the guy just throws him the fucking keys.
Keys. Yeah, and him and Katie are ballet workers or whatever. And it's most of the time you see people they're on that other side of the valet. You see Tony Stark and you see Bruce Banner and things like that. They're kind of more so of the wealthy people. They're the ones on the other side of that valet. So for to see them being the valet drivers and stuff like that, I thought that was dope. And then like Aquafina or Katie or whatever, she kind of is like, we're gonna go drive this car. And he's like, no, we're not. And she's like, yeah, we are. And it's kind of just like one of those things where it gives you that side character that's doing the most, and then the MC is like trying to dial it back, like, no, we're not that type of people, and this and that, and you're like, okay, we're gonna get this parallel. So I was already ready for that once they started doing that.
Absolutely. For me, we're getting introduced, of course, to Aquafina, and I'm like, all right, how we gonna do this? And I was again, I right with you. I was like, oh, okay, we about to get the son of Wen Wu pull out in the nice whip, and I'm like, that's not the son of Wen Wu. Oh, okay, he's having a humble beginning. Bet that. Let's do that. Let's just start the show with him like, hey, he lives on tips basically. And then how Aquafina's like, hey, dips, like I'm getting in this is like, hey, no, this is supposed to be my ship, my car that I'm supposed to park. He's like, well, look, I won't do anything. Next,
Mhm.
they whipping it
Whipping
on
it.
the
Yeah.
streets of San Fran. I'm like, and I was like, oh, I'm in the Bay
Don't
now
worry,
too,
don't worry. I'll go slow.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm about to
Just
see these
Tokyo
streets
drift
now.
that
Yeah,
shit.
just whipping that whip, and I'm just like, I bet I'm enjoying this moment, and I just thought it was very well done. I like the direction that they were gonna give us this dope hero.
Yeah.
Like yes, he has very rich, notable beginnings. But at this point, when we meet him, he's just a normal, everyday guy. Especially when we find out more about how he lives. Like, Katie lives with her parents, her mom, her brother, her grandmother. You know, typical, which was so important, that dialogue too. Grandma was like, she's like, oh no, it's it's Day of the Dead, and he gets whatever he wants. It's like, I'm sure he doesn't really need chips in a pack of cigarettes. It's like, no, like, and her mom said it. That's the problem with the American cultures. They don't believe in family anymore. And hey, look, anybody who's listening, don't take offense to this, but it's absolutely true. As someone who is a Nigerian, first generation Nigerian, the concept of family very much differs when you compare it to other cultures, when you compare it to the American culture itself. Concept of family is not saying, basically, you keep generations of family together. You don't try to get your kids out of there and be like, hey, that's on you, good luck. That it is what it is. It's family is very important, and I thought that was very, very distinct, and I like that they point that out, because at the end of the day, as I mentioned before, how often do we get whitewashed movies about other cultures and they fail to capture exactly the cultural aspects of said culture? Now we're introduced to this Chinese culture, and it's like, yeah, they are big on family. You're going to have grandma living with mom, living with grandchildren. You're going to have them and have no issues with it. Not mama saying like, so when you gonna get your life together and move the hell out? No, it's more so like, when there's so much potential, when are you gonna live up to that potential? Not saying, hey, I need you up out of my crib. I just need you to live up to your potential. Grandma's being taken care of. She's not a burden like, oh my gosh, yes, grandma, you in this house, like, I feel obligated to help you. No, it doesn't feel that way. And I thought that in that brief moment, those few minutes we spent with Katie's family too, I was like, this is dope. I appreciate them. I appreciate the authenticity. And mind you, of course, I'm not Chinese. If I'm wrong, correct me. I'm open to correction. I will correct myself. But from what I understand and what I know, this just seems so appropriate, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, man. Like I love that scene because it's so simple, right? Because it's just depicting what a real family like breakfast would be like for those people, right? Like when Shang-Chi shows up, he takes off his shoes, puts them on a rack outside. Like that's a lot of things that Asian families do, Indian families, Caribbean families. That's something that you do. You take off your shoes before you come into someone's home, because that's disrespectful to come in like that. You know what I mean? So it's just those small details, just those small little insights into their culture and all that stuff. That was a lot of stuff that I really, really appreciated. So, Steve, do you have any thoughts on that breakfast scene before we move into the bus fight?
No, I thought y'all hit everything on the head with it. Just the whole thing that they alluded to with just family in general. Just you get to see that dynamic, and it's really quick, but you still get to see how close that they are. And then you kind of wonder, oh dang, what's what I'm saying? If you're a first time watcher, not a comic book reader and things like that, you're like, dang, that's crazy. She's got family, and he's kind of just like that extra thing. But what I'm saying? We know about his family, so
right.
There's
and like Abe said, and what Brian just brought up in chat, like it's the differences between like the family dynamics, because Shang-Chi, he's never experienced this before. He's never experienced this homey feel of what it's like from Katie's perspective. So I really, really like that. So so let's get into the bus fight, because this bus fight is fucking insane. Even though you saw it in the marketing, it's still amazing when you get to watch the whole thing. So we get this one guy walks up to Shang-Chi and Katie, says, give me the pendant, there won't be any trouble, right? And then this incredible fight scene breaks out, right? And it wasn't until the second time that I realized how long Razor Fist was just sitting in the back waiting and watching to see what Shang-Chi can do, because he's the master's son, right? So he wanted to see what they can do. So I want to toss it to you first, Steve. What did you think of the bus fight? Like, what were some of your favorite moments from that fight?
So the first thing is when the guy pulls out his cell phone. And he's all like, "Hey man, so I'm here on the bus," and he's all like, and this dude just started. He starts giving a play-by-play of the fight, and I thought that was funny as hell. Even like during the dialogue, like they're like kind of like, "Give me the pendant" and all this other stuff, and then Katie's like, "I don't know who you think we are, but like, you know what I'm saying?" She kind of just brushes it off like, "Look, we can't fight, we can't do these things." Like,
does it look like he can fight?
Right, yeah. And then they turn around and they start fighting. And I actually thought that was really cool because I thought it was going to be more so of, even though I've seen the trailer, but I thought it was more so of they're going to just kind of like beat him up, rough him up. And then later on, Shang-Chi gets this awakening. And then all of a sudden he could fight. I wasn't expecting him right off the back to be like, uh-oh, you know what I'm saying? Let me show y'all that I got hands like right now. And so I was definitely excited about that. And like I said, that play-by-play of the, yo, so my man right here, he's gonna kick him in the head. He's gonna do
it's your boy Cleb.
Yeah. He's the same one from Spider-Man. Hey, Spider-Man, do a flip.
Yeah. Spider-Man do a flip, kid. Yeah.
yeah. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, that whole sequence was like dope as shit though. Like the fighting and like I said, it was that. From what I enjoyed about it was he reminded me of old Jackie Chan movies, him using the environment to help him fight, him swinging on the pole, on the bus poles or whatever as he's fighting and doing things like that, stepping on the window and kicking people against the wall and things like that. Just
very Jackie Chan.
Yeah, it was all over the place. It was Jackie Chan. So I definitely love that homage that they gave or whatever. If this movie came out in 1999, Jackie Chan would definitely be Shang-Chi. That's what I was thinking. Like, that's all I could think of. And I was like, yo, this is really dope.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Or in the early 2000s, it would be Jet Li.
Yeah. So it was definitely that environment thing. And then what I did like about the scene, the fight scenes, was that it was more so focused on the pendulum for a lot of the fight. As he's moving around, as he's weaving, the pendulum goes up and the camera follows the pendulum. It doesn't really follow Shang-Chi. I thought that was dope camera work. I thought that was really dope.
Yeah. For me, hey, Steve, just like you, old boy is like, hey guys, so I used to do martial arts. You know, I did 1 year of martial arts back when I was a kid. So I know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, yo, I hope he gets his ass whooped. He gets in the crossfire. That'd be great for me because he's talking big shit. And it's like, my nigga, you don't look like you could fight at all. I don't believe it. Yeah. But the combat itself, it was just so smooth, you know, so smooth, especially since it didn't feel out of place in the sense of like, oh, mind you, they're on a runaway bus on the streets of San Fran. So they going up, they going down, you know, like Aquafina is whipping it, Katie's using her ballet skills to keep it because the brake lines were cut. But the camera work, like you mentioned, Steve, it flowed with the movement, you know?
Yeah.
As you mentioned, it wasn't on a fixed point. It was like, look, this is your perspective of how it would look like on a bus. You know, we hit a bump. Of course, we're going to jump up. Mm. Hey, we swerve. Of course, we're going to swerve too. You know, it wasn't just like, hey, let's center this on Shang-Chi. Mm. And so I enjoyed just how the fight was going. You had the people in the background. Oh my goodness. First of all, I felt sorry for an old girl who was just doing her paper on the bus. You know, she just typed up her paper. I mean, it's like, I'm gonna borrow this. Uses it. Here you go. Like,
only uses it once. I'm like, that could have been something else.
You could have dodged it. Like, you didn't have to. I'm like, poor girl. I hope you saved your document. You know, I hope it auto saved because if it didn't, all that
she was
work,
using like Google Docs or something.
Yeah, because if she wasn't, it's gone, and there's no like really recovering that. Your laptop is severed. It is split. But again, the fight sequence was so dope, especially when we got the camera shot outside, right? And we basically get him facing each opponent and knocking them out the window and fighting them. And it's just like, yo, this was such great visualizations. Mm-hmm. And this is not even the bus scene fight. We got introduced to it before the movie came out, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Had us hyped, had us hooked, was stellar. It wasn't even the best fight sequence, in my opinion, of the whole film. But
Oh,
for us to
facts.
get this within it was like the first 20, 25 minutes of the film, of a 132-minute film, I was like, yo, we getting not the first fight, it was the second one. I mean, the third one. Because do we count Wen Wu in the army as a true fight? Because he just whooped ass.
I
We
mean, I
definitely count-
guess technically, like if you go
Okay.
through like sequences of the film.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this was the third fight. So it's already like within the first maybe 25 minutes, we've had 3 really choreographed fights.
Mhm.
2 with Wen Wu, and then 1 with Shang-Chi. And he is showing out. Like, this is before we know exactly why is he so skilled. We don't know just yet. But he's holding his own, and you're just like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
This man putting in work against these clear assassins who are trained for this.
Mhm.
As he said, these are the 10 rings, you know, the army, and they are putting in work. It was just a beautiful use of camera work, beautiful fight cinematography. You know, the dialogue itself was funny in the moments. I mean, like I said, I was annoyed with that kid because I wanted him to get caught in crossfire for talking so much shit. But it helped. It was a nice comedic element that wasn't overbearing, that wasn't too much, you know. And I appreciate because it makes sense. You think of the time period. Of course, we see everybody pulled out their phones.
Mhm.
Everybody was recording this.
did.
It was typical of this time period. And I said, yo, I mean, in real life, if this was happening in real life, we would see the same thing. Someone pull out and be like, hey, yeah, so I'm gonna record this, John. Like, as if, dog, you could get your head sliced off.
Yeah,
You
like
could
how
end up getting
often do
pushed
you
out of car.
see like someone kicking someone's ass on a bus using kung fu, and someone else has a laser sword for an arm? Like,
So
Yeah.
I
I gotta
enjoyed
get
that whole
some of
sequence.
it on camera.
I mean, yeah, I mean, especially since he's a social media influence. He's a content creator.
Yeah.
You know, he's a YouTuber. So it's like, yes. I mean, in real life, how often do we have dangerous stuff happens? And we know dangerous stuff happens because people are pulling out their phones. Like, hold on, it's a whole hurricane. Why are you standing there recording? Hold on, we have people
gotta
like,
get it on
legit-
video, bro.
Yeah, you have people
For the
getting
gram.
massacred. Why are you recording? Like,
For the gram.
It just fit. Yeah.
This will be a great memory later on down the line.
If I make it, like, or if I don't, hey, people are gonna remember me as a guy. Like, all right, it just made sense. So it was ideal. I enjoyed this sequence, the bus sequence. It was dope.
Yeah, man, it's a great fight sequence for everything that you guys already said. Steve brought up a really good point of how the camera tends to focus on the necklace, right? Up until that very moment where Shang-Chi is doing a flip while Razor Fist is cutting the bus in half, and that's actually when he snatches the chain, because immediately that next scene you don't see it on his neck anymore. So it's really good attention to detail, really good camera work. Really good stunt work by Simu as well. I was watching some interviews with him earlier, and he was talking about wanting to do as many of his own stunts as humanly possible. And it's really important to see the actor that you came to see doing all of the cool shit. Like when the train's about to flip and people are about to fall out of the bus, and then he catches one, puts his foot out to catch someone else, like stuff like that. Like, it's, again, so Jackie Chan, something really, really cool watching him doing all that stuff, fighting against Razor Fist. Again, like all of Aquafina's commentary, like, who are you? Right?
Yeah.
And then we get back to his place. He's packing up a bag. He's saying, I'm going to Macau, right? Because he thinks that's where he needs to go to get to his sister. Since they took his pendant, they're obviously going to be going after hers. So so Katie tells him straight up, we'll talk on the plane. Love the plane sequence. Thought the plane sequence was pretty funny, with him just explaining like how tragic his backstory was, and like the fact that he was trained by his father to be a killer after his mother was murdered. So what did you think about getting that extra backstory and that conversation with Katie on the plane?
I enjoyed the backstory, and I enjoyed even like how we say that the comedy doesn't seem forced. I thought it was funny when he's telling the story, and then halfway through the story, she's out of nowhere, vegetarian or beef. Like the steward is just out of a sudden cuts him off, vegetarian or beef, and then she's like, you're like, oh, what the heck? And then they asked for beef. I mean, they asked for vegetarian, and then we're out of vegetarian.
It
She's
seems we're
like,
a little
oh,
vegetarian.
yeah. Well, then I guess I have the beef. And then she's like, and for you, he'll have the beef. Like, what? Like, what's his other option?
That's the
Like,
only thing available.
Yeah, that's all that's left.
That's all that's left. Just give him the beef. Like, I thought that was funny the way that they added that in there during a serious moment, in a sense, where it's like they're telling this story of him being a trained assassin and things like that. So I thought that was dope. I also enjoyed him saying, she was like, is that your real name? And he was all like, my real name is Shang. She was like, wait, so your real name is Shang, and you changed it to Sean. She's like, what kind of fake secret identity? Like that whole little scene, that whole little airplane scene conversation was really funny.
I also love that scene because it's very reminiscent of like Simu trying to explain like how his name's actually pronounced in real life. So it's actually fucking hilarious that they actually put it into the movie. It's like, no, Shang-Chi. Hilarious,
Shang-Chi. It's like Sean. I thought that was hilarious.
Because I mean, trying to pronounce it in Chinese, it is a bit difficult. Because I mean, like, you know, our tongues all do something different, like depending on our accents, dialect, and all of that stuff. So it is Liu Sumwa. You know, is really how you pronounce it. I don't have a good Chinese accent, but that's really how it's supposed to be pronounced. But you know.
And yeah, you know, I mean, JB, we can appreciate this moment, right? You know, as being our families are immigrants, they're not from the States. Steve, you've been outside the country, you've been exposed to other cultures. You can appreciate that, hey, this is a very relatable thing, you know, and the fact that they were able to play on that and to joke about it. I mean, you have Aquafina, who's clearly, you know, Chinese, struggling, who were pronouncing it and then clowning him on how he decided.
I love that you brought that up. I love that you brought that up because that's a great parallel of someone who is from somewhere else but has been completely Americanized to where it's like they barely speak their own native language. So I thought it was fucking hilarious. Yeah,
so, you know, man, there's so much that I enjoyed about this show. Oh my gosh, as we break it down, it's just like, yo, it was very small details. Because for me, small details, as while they may seem trivial to others, they are very important to me. And this is one of those small things, like, you know, you can easily just overlook, be like, that was funny, but move on. But it's like, nah, you gotta hold on, appreciate the moment that it represented, appreciate it, what the deeper levels to it. And yeah, I was just laughing, like you mentioned, Steve, the whole like, so would you like vegetarian or beef?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're out of vegetarian. So would you like beef? like, no. I want the chicken that's not available. No, I want the vegetarian that's not available.
Can I have the lobster?
Like, and then the way Katie was going in on her, and she just with a smile, like, I'm like, oh my goodness, how typical is this? We get asked stupid ass questions, and it's like, well, what do you think I'm gonna go for? Come on, use your head. It was hilarious. The whole plane sequence was hilarious.
Yeah, man, great sequence on the plane. And then we finally touch down in Macau. We get this brilliant shot looking up at the building and all the scaffolding because we know we're going to get there. And love the Fight Club sequence, right? I love when they meet the Xiaoling's number 2 guy. And he was like, oh, I speak ABC. I thought it was fucking hilarious, bro. And then we find out that Shang-Chi has signed himself up to fight in this fight club. There's some really great Easter eggs in there. We actually see someone that has extremist powers fighting against one of the Black Widows from the Black Widow movie. I thought that was fucking dope. We get the Wong fight with Abomination. Abe, I want to start with you. Like, what did you think about that fight? I wish it was longer. I do want to talk about where Wong takes him, but I want to hear your thoughts on the fight first.
With the fight, I enjoyed it. I was also wishing it was longer up until we get dialogue between Wong and Abomination before he took him. And it was just like, hey, we got to practice that move. And I was like, oh, it was a scripted fight, of course. And I was like, oh, so Wong, you out here been working with Abomination, huh? Oh boy, what have you been up to since Doctor Strange, baby? Like, what are you doing lately? Like, you just making some money on the side, and you and Abomination are homies? Like, okay. And of course, I did like the little Easter eggs cameos that we got. Like you mentioned, there's someone using the extremist ability, which is, it was a reminder that, hey, this is still an MCU film. You know, there's some stuff that has happened. Hey, I know it's been about 10 years. I know it's been a while, but they still play a role. The Black Widow movie came out earlier this year. Now, while the time period is set before several years before this, it's like, hey, the Black Widows, you know, the widows themselves, they're still out there, they still working. And now we get one in the Fight Club. I just thought it was so dope. And then of course the elevator scene is like, the guy's not talking, he's just looking at them, just present some document they sign. It's like, oh, okay, you know, hey, I speak ABCs too. He's like, man, you're Bus Boy. Oh my gosh, you're so famous, Bus. Yeah, you know, so you basically signed your life over. You're gonna be fighting, and hey, you're not gonna do this small crap. You're gonna be on the big stage, Bus Boy. You know, and then Katie's like, oh yeah, let's make some money.
And then fucking bets against him.
That's against him.
And she got paid out, and she just tucked in her. Was that her fanny pack, or she just tucked it in her pants?
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, wait,
he's like, did you bet against me?
He's like, no, hide the money. I would never. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Of course I bet against you. I didn't know you could fight till 10 minutes ago.
Dude, let's talk about Xialing just coming out and fucking him up, bro. So again, I was watching an interview. One of those punches to the face actually landed. So she actually like hit him square in the fucking face. She's really good at those fight sequences. Because before this, she wasn't trained at all, really. So she trained just for this movie. And she looks great. She looks like she knows what she's doing. So great fight. What did you guys think?
Oh, absolutely great fight. It was very, again, there was no fight throughout this whole film that was like cringy, like, oh, this was trash. All the fights were A1 stellar. You know, I enjoyed each and every one of them. But seeing this fight and him like, hey, you know, you actually fighting me, like, little sis, what's going on? Why the hostility? Like, I don't want to fight you. I'm here to warn you and like to try to stop Dad. And she's like, I don't need you. Yeah. And then of course we dive into why, and I'm like, oh yeah, I would have whooped your ass too. The fuck? Like,
yeah, and it's like, why are you surprised that she's pissed off with you, dude? Like, you told her you were going to be back in 3 days. Your mom's dead. Your dad's fucking lost it. He's gone off the deep end, and you left her. You had to assume she would be pissed.
Right? For how many years? 7 years? Or was it that she said after 7 years she moved on? She finally moved on after 7 years. It's just like, dog, your little sister who in that flashback, it's like you did care about her. You know, and she really looked up to you. And you abandoned her. Oh yeah, you deserve all that. You deserve all them hits. That punch that really landed, you deserve that.
Right? It's like you were so scared of your father that you left her.
Yeah. And you think
she
wasn't
left her.
scared? Like, it's like, yeah. I enjoyed the Wong fight though with Abomination when he hits him, and then Wong is all like, "That really hurt. Let me show you how that feels." And then and then Abomination throws a punch, and then Wong opens the portal and lets him punch himself. Like, yeah, you see that? Like, get some of that, because that's what it felt like. And I enjoyed that whole little fight and that scuffle between them two, because it was just like an interesting dynamic of like how we originally saw in the trailer. Like, you never would have thought you would see Abomination and Wong having a fight. You just never thought in a million years that would be, a dream battle. And then, of course, that's what happens. And it's like,
and a great way to make money, too, because everyone's going to put money on Abomination. But if he loses, they make bank. So you talked about opening up a portal, right? When they're walking through the portal, taking him back to where he's being imprisoned. So the second time I saw it, I was laser focused on the inside of the portal. I think that they're keeping Abomination on a helicarrier. The reason why I think that is because if you look at the cage really good that's behind the lasers in the portal, it's the same kind of cage that was built for Hulk from the first Avengers movie. The difference is it's covered by a laser grid. So in order for that cage to work properly, it's meant to be in the sky, so if he tries to escape, you drop him and then he can't get out and he dies, right? Wouldn't make sense to keep him in that kind of cage inside of the raft. So I think there's some other floating prison that we don't even know about in the MCU. Could be reading into it, but it was 100% the same kind of cage that they made for Hulk that we saw in the Avengers movie. Did you guys pick up on that?
Yeah, and it made me wonder, like, okay, because is Wong his caretaker? Like, Wong has easy access to him. So what does this mean? Like, Abomination didn't say words, so as far as we know, he doesn't talk. But he's also is he self-aware, or is he just like kind of animalistic?
Well,
he's
Wong
just following
does call him
Wong.
by his actual name. He doesn't call him.
Yeah. So I'm just curious.
He's
So is this,
communicating with him.
So what's the history with why is Abomination, locked up? But apparently he has free reign to participate in a fight club. What?
I mean, under supervision, and then he goes straight back to prison. Maybe maybe this was like a product of like good behavior. It's like, yeah, we'll let you fight in a fight club like once a year for good behavior. Like, I don't know.
It's brilliant too as marketing, because you get Spider-Man's coming out, and Wong is in that movie, and then Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness is coming out, and then on top of that, She-Hulk is coming out. So it's actually pretty smart to put them two right there. And then now you got all these questions. Well, guess what? You could see Spider-Man, and we could throw him in there a little bit, or we could, Doctor Strange, throw him in there a little bit, and then She-Hulk. So it's actually pretty good marketing for your future endeavors. It's smart. It's smart as shit.
Yeah, because Abomination is going to be in She-Hulk. That's confirmed. Yep. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah. So Xialing absolutely fucks him up. Love that fight. Knocks him out cold, and then we realize that she didn't send the postcard. It was actually Wenwu. Lights go out, the 10 rings break in, and we get this amazing fight on the side of the building at the scaffolding. I thought this fight was amazing. In the general thoughts, I believe it was general thoughts, you brought it up, Steve, where he's kind of falling down, he hits a plank, and then it flips, hits someone else. So Jackie Chan. Love watching them fight on the scaffolding, bro. The way the Death Dealer comes down on the scaffolding, upside down, very kung fu. I thought that was fucking sick. I love the way that Xialing comes in and grabs Katie as she's about to fall, just grabs her with her legs. So sick. Like, what were some of your favorite moments from the scaffolding fight?
Man, first of all, I liked how this guy, clearly we learned the reason he fled is he couldn't bring himself to at the time, he couldn't bring himself to commit murder, but he has no issue just flaying these people off the scaffolding to their death. I'm like, you hear them screaming.
Well,
and
I mean,
like,
we did learn later on that he did kill the guy.
Yeah. So, but at the time, we're just like, wait, guy, these guys are literally falling to their death. They are miles up. Like, no remorse. I get it. They're killing you, so it's kill or be killed. But it kind of contradicts the whole, like, hey, I'm here to avenge my mother who I cared about. Like, I couldn't see go through with it. I'm like, no, that makes sense. But then my favorite part was actually when Xialing pulled up, and now you got the siblings fighting alongside each other. And I'm like, hey, all right, turned up, because we already know that Xialing has better hands than Shang-Chi. Like, we already know she can whoop his ass. So now we're seeing them both go at it, and I'm like, bet. And then my other favorite thing was that, Uncle Katie's caught up in this, and she ain't stand a chance. So now she's hanging off by, honestly, I immediately thought of Rush Hour.
Definitely, especially when she breaks into song on a dark desert highway.
I immediately was thinking of Rush Hour, and I was like, yo, just the I don't know if it was intentional, but just the choreography, the visuals, it was beautiful because it's nighttime, and mind you, Macau was such a colorful city. You have the imagery, the buildings are all lit up different colors. It was a very lively place, and we're seeing that played out, and it's not distracting at all. It is serving as a great backdrop. And mind you, when we get to the Shang-Chi versus Death Dealer fight, I think that was my favorite.
Another one of my favorite fights, bro. Dude,
I think that was my number one.
The way it was shot, the way it was framed right in front of that purple light, like,
yes.
Oh my God, bro.
Yes, with that character just dancing across the screen, and it did not distract. It only heightened and like made the, because at that point we were, pulled back, and you don't see him in detail. It just looked like silhouettes fighting on this just funny, amusing, colorful background, and they're throwing hands. It was just so beautiful, honestly, so beautiful. Oh my goodness.
And very reminiscent of like his training when he was a kid. Like they kind of almost end up in the same position where he's blocking the dagger and almost kills him until Wenwu shows up. And Tony Leung, man, his presence, this dude just has this amazing commanding presence when he gets on screen. You instantly know not to fuck with this dude. Even no matter how calm he is, you know that he can kill you at any moment. Breaks up the fight and then takes him back home. And then we get that incredible dinner sequence that we were talking about briefly before in the beginning. I love that sequence where he's just breaking it down to his family. It's time for you guys to come home. It's time for you guys to help me save your mother. And this is where I empathize with him, right? And this is kind of where it's weird empathizing with a character like this, because he's murdered hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people in the conquest of his own power, right? And then he has his family stripped away from him. And it's like, yes, I feel bad for him, but it's like, is this karma? You know what I mean? Like this is something that happened to you because of all of the evil things that you've done in your past, when really all he wants is to bring his family back together again. So I really, really like that dinner sequence. Again, he breaks down the backstory of the fake Mandarin and how we caught him and he was going to kill him, which I fucking hope he was going to. But really, really like that dinner sequence. So I want to get your thoughts on the dinner sequence, and then we can briefly talk about Trevor and then go on from there.
The dinner sequence was hilarious because it's like, again, Wenwu's dialogue, he's like, Katie, what is your real name? Your ancestral name, the name that your family gave to you, not this American thing. Because he's like, how did you find me? I always know where my children are. Because prior to that, Xialing was like, he doesn't care about me. I was kept in. It's like, no, I always know where my children are. Not where my son is, where my children are. It's like, hey, I know you didn't feel like dad loved you, but dad always kept his eyes on you. And he said, look, I gave you 10 years to live your life. I could have snatched you back up anytime, but I was like, hey, this is the city you want to go to, live your life. And what are you doing? Ballet? Like, you're so much more. You're my son. You're the son of the man who's been called by many names throughout life. The most recent one being the Mandarin. And let me tell you how that came about. You thought, but it's a name that stuck. But then again, that specific dialogue with Katie, I felt so wholeheartedly. Especially as a first generation guy. My name is Abraham. That's my first name, the name that my parents gave me. But my middle name I use often only around other people of my culture, because it's just easy. When I meet other people that are non-Nigerian, Abraham, call me Abraham. Very easy, very simple. But in this case, it's like, Katie, why are you hiding your name? That's not your given name. That's not your first name that they gave you. I just thought, like, it's so powerful because there's power. There is power in the name. There's power in the word, and there's power in the name. And then he revealed what his actual name is. Like, Wenwu. I'm Wenwu. That is my actual name. They call me all this, but my actual name is Wenwu. And I was like, man, the dialogue just be hitting at the dinner table like this. It's just be hitting. I appreciated that scene a lot.
Yeah, it was really important, especially for her character too, because again, like, she's so Americanized that she's lost all of that elements of her heritage, and so it was great to hear her name, Rei Wen. It was great to hear her given name. You know what I mean? So I thought that was dope. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that whole conversation. And then, like, much how you said that it's hard for you to sympathize with characters like that and things like that, or you like it that they make it. I enjoyed the fact that it wasn't just sympathizing with him, it was also sympathizing with the mother, because he says that I hear her calling out to me to come save. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she's in pain. That's what he's thinking. She's in pain. She needs this. Like, she needs us to do this for her. And I definitely appreciated that. And obviously we find out that, later on that it's something else. But you can see why is such a big deal to him, because it's like, yo, like, even if I am a shitbag or I am a piece of shit, she doesn't deserve this. You know what I'm saying? She's calling out, she's suffering. And that definitely was one of those things that I definitely, you know, I see myself enjoying, and I know what I would have, you know what I'm saying, what I would have done in that situation. I would have definitely been like, all right, let me gather myself and my kids and things like that, and we need to figure this out because she's suffering. So that was definitely an important line that I heard at the dinner table that I thought was really deep.
Yeah, man, because at the core, like he really loves his family. Like he
Mm-hmm.
definitely makes the wrong decisions, which
Mhm,
just shows the human experience, man. We're not perfect. Even
mhm.
someone with all of that power, all of that status, he's still just a human guy who just misses his wife. He turned his son into a killing machine to make sure that no one could ever harm him ever, right? To make
Yeah.
sure that he would be able to protect the people that he cares about in the future. And although he made the wrong choice, he also decided to keep his daughter away from danger by not training her. He's a
Mhm,
1,000 years old. Back then, he didn't believe that women should be fighting. You know what I mean? So he kept her completely away from it, tried to protect her and shield her. So at the end of it, all of this that he's doing now is all for the family. And it's really heartbreaking that like this thing is just reaching out to him, playing as his wife, giving him this hope that he'll be able to see the woman that changed his life again. Really, really heartbreaking, man. So
mhm.
he says, you know what? If they don't let us in, we'll burn the whole fucking thing to the ground, right? I love
Mhm.
the sequence where he takes the two pendants, puts it on the dragon's eyes, and we get this beautiful map, this representation of how to get into Talo. I thought it was gorgeous, brilliantly done, and like I absolutely love that sequence. And then we get to Trevor, right? We get to Trevor. We get the useless dialogue of everything that he's been through, and
Hey, yo, shout out to Morris, who represents the deity of chaos in Chinese
right,
culture.
yeah.
Shout out to you, baby. One of the four evils. So it's like I appreciate that. You faceless. I don't know you chicken pig as Katie called him. I thought that was hilarious, but it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Cause is Ben Kingsley funny? Yes, but I don't enjoy the Trevor character, right? So I love the interaction between Shang-Chi and Katie, where it's like, what the fuck is that?
And
And
he's
he's like,
like,
you can
"Oh,
see
you can see
Morris.
it too! Oh my goodness, oh Morris!"
that
It's
was
not
that
me.
was funny. That was
I was
funny.
like, "Damn, how long he been locked up?" This man thought he was hallucinating. Like, it really set the tone.
I
Had they
mean,
not
we
done
know
that, I
he's
probably would have felt the
been
same way.
he's been locked up for what, at least 10 years
No.
by the
Yep.
Mandarin. You know what I
Because
mean?
Iron
So
Man, yeah, because of Iron Man 3.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so we get that. We figure out that he can talk to Morris, and Morris actually knows a way to get into Talo without waiting the 3 days for this one specific path. This is where what Christian calls it on Popaholics, the 20-minute BMW car commercial that happens in the middle of a fucking MCU movie, where we're just sitting there staring at this car, waiting for the perfect moment in order to drive through this forest. So, what did you think about the sequence driving through the forest? How did you feel about the CGI? What do you feel of the concept of the forest constantly moving and shifting to keep away invaders?
I actually didn't have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with the CGI, and it didn't look terrible. Like, it was like just trees, and it was moving. The forest was basically, moving, and he's talking to he's talking to her to get the directions of where to go and things like that. So the CGI really wasn't terrible. It was just like there, and it was done well. I didn't think it was over the top. I didn't think it was too little, and it didn't look cheesy or anything like that.
Did you
Um,
feel the stakes?
Not really. The reason why I didn't feel the stakes is because we're halfway through the movie, and we saw what happens if the force rejects you. You get thrown off, you're dead.
Yeah,
So Shang-Chi is in this car. So
exactly.
and I've seen trailers of him fighting Winwoo, and that hadn't happened yet. So no, I didn't feel the stakes, but at the same time, it's like, what can you really do? And it lasted a while though. That was the issue. I felt like that scene lasted a pretty long time. for that forest scene. They could have really just been like one turn here and then we're out of the forest.
Well, how else are you supposed to know that the BMW is really good for off-road? I hate product placement, dude. I hate blatant product placement. Like when it's just like, oh, this person's using a Sony phone or a Sony TV. Like it's not that serious. Like Transformers, when fucking Mark Wahlberg takes a pause to drink a Bud Light in the middle of a fucking movie. That's the kind of stuff that I hate. Like this. It's like, well, we have to show you all aspects of the car. Look at how well this SUV turns the corners in split decisions. Look how it's able to drive through all of these trees and it doesn't scratch the paint. It's perfect. Great tires. It's like, fuck you, bro. Like, no.
I definitely thought that it was going to be like a quick, like, turn here, and then it's over. And it lasted a minute. And I was like, all right, so once again, it was one of those, what's the point? Because I guess it was just to give Trevor his lines or something like that. I have no idea.
Again, making him fucking useless because all of that stuff could have been given to Zhao Ling.
Hey, I'll say this: the garage car chase scene was kind of boring. The only thing I
forgot that. My bad.
Yeah, no, it was the same as the Forest one. It's just, hey, you're just showing off these cars because I mean the fights itself wasn't really I don't consider it fights. It was just, your typical car chase scene that wasn't really fun. And not that it wasn't fun, it just, I could have done without it. But then when we get to the forest, the only thing I liked was when the fact that Trevor basically translates for Boris was hilarious to me. And then at the end, it's like, Morris said, you guys did a great job. It's like they nearly died. Morris, you bastard. He was not worried. But it just, now we're in Talo, and like some people said, Steve, I know you tweeted about this. Oh, look, we got Pokemon out here now. We see.
I knew people would think that as soon as they saw the Ninetales.
Look at Ninetales. I was like, look.
I'm like, no, that's related to Daiji. The story of Daiji and whatnot. Yeah. It's like, this is dope.
That just lets you know that Detective Pikachu is now in the Marvel universe.
Oh, okay.
Canon.
I mean,
it's canon.
Right. I mean, that's not the one thing that we were like, hey, that's the Marvel universe. We'll get to that because Ray alluded to that last week or so. But I enjoyed the beautiful moment here just to really see like, these are the creatures of Talo. We have that horse-like beautiful blue creature that the herd is going across the car, and it's just having a stare down with him too. It's like, boy, you see me walking here, right? Yeah, you see me walking here, right? Oh, that's what I thought. All right, homie, let's keep going, homies. And then you see like 6 or 7 of them just go through. Then you see the lion-like creature. I mean, the phoenix. He's like, oh, that's some of his old friends. You see the other little Morrises and how they get excited. It was like, oh, it was just a beautiful moment. And it was, I was going to say this to the end, but I'll say this now. This movie did a great job of introducing us to not alien creatures, but just other monsters, right? And I think this is a great job to set up like a possible monster verse within the MCU, which is important for Shang-Chi, which is important for Iron Fist, but is also very important for characters like Blade. Especially with the CGI, it was done so well. It didn't feel out of place. It didn't feel wacky. It didn't feel like, I'm looking at that, like, especially when we met the Great Protector later on. I was like, oh. And there's one dragon in particular that I'm like, okay, I have full faith that he's going to look perfectly fine when they decide to bring him in. So,
for sure,
I enjoyed this moment.
Yeah, man. I loved all of the stuff at Talo. Like, I loved the introduction to Michelle Yeoh's character. I believe her name is Ying Nan, I believe is her name. Loved the introduction to her character. I loved the fight between Shang-Chi and Ying Nan. I thought that was fucking sick. Michelle Yeoh is one of my favorite, actresses. Like, she's so multi-talented. She was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's been in so many incredible films. And she's so good in these fight sequences. Like, when she starts to use the same technique that Jae-young used at the beginning of the movie against Wenwu, because Shang-Chi wants to know, Mom was the only one that beat him. How'd she do it? And I love that fight sequence. So what do you guys think about that fight between Ying-nan and Shang-Chi?
Again, beautiful fight choreography. Like Steve had mentioned earlier on in our review, it was a dance. You know, it was a dance between an aunt and her nephew. Like, hey, let me show you our ways, the true ways of Ta Lo. You're used to this, like, you're used to fight with your fist, this American, not just American, but this style of like, hey, I gotta force myself. You know, I gotta be able to throw strong punches. I gotta be able to hurt. And it's like, no, open your palm. Flow with the element, flow with your environment. Yep. And when he did that, he started getting the better of her. He's like, oh, you learn quick. Mm-hmm. Like you there is hope for you. I just enjoyed it because, in my opinion, good fight scenes are one that just have such fluidity to it. You know, we mentioned the Matrix. How often did the Matrix have such fluid fight scenes? Like, hey, we love the whole boxing style, yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's the one thing I love about just martial arts in general is just how fluid they are. Because mind you, a lot of them have bases not in exerting violence, but in terms of balancing yourself, finding, meditating, and that's what we saw. You know, it was like, hey, this is and again, the dialogue be hitting. Auntie is like, yo, you got to be able to what is the word I'm looking for? Not is it amend, but basically accept who you are from not only your mother's side, but also your father's side. You're stuck trying to figure out, like, who am I? Am I this assassin, this killer that my dad raised me to be, or am I this more like, you know,
gentle person from my mom?
Gentle person from your mom. It's like, you just need to accept it. You can be both. You can meld them. They are not mutually exclusive. And that's what this fight showed too. And it's just like, it was well done. Well done. Man.
Really well done.
It definitely showed like the assassin in you is not your dad's power. That's your power. So you're allowed to use that, but you don't have to fight against it. Like, you're allowed to use that. And it kind of reminds me of My Hero, when Todoroki's always using the ice side, but he never wants to use the flame side because he's against that, because that's my dad, that's the evil side. And that's kind of what Shang-Chi was going through with that same kind of
great comparison, dude.
Yeah. He's just like, I don't want to use this side. That's the evil dark side. And she's like, no, you can free flow and let it go. You know what I'm saying? Because that's you. Even though he gave you that gift, it's still your gift. And you can use that. Yeah. So,
but before we dive any deeper into the third act and the events of Ta Lo, I want to jump back to one of the flashbacks again real quick. After their mother fights off the Iron Gang and dies, and when Wu comes back, and then he puts on the 10 rings again and goes on that revenge tirade. Like, that sequence with him just holding Shang-Chi's hand, walking into that place and just fucking up those guys that killed his wife. Like, Tony Leung again does an incredible job. Like, just watching him sitting in that chair, absolutely depressed, contemplating whether or not to put the 10 rings back on again, because if he never took them off, no one would ever come after his family. No one would ever even dare to think of it. So I really liked that scene. I felt like both the child actor and Tony Leung did a really good job with those emotional beats during that entire scene. So what did you guys think about that? And then we'll talk about the dragon armor and the dragon weapons, and then move into the third act.
So that scene, again, like I mentioned beforehand, I appreciated that Wenwu was not a flat character. He was three-dimensional. So throughout the film, it wasn't like, hey, this all of a sudden, let's just try to make him three-dimensional with this one scene. No, we've been building up to this throughout. Like, when we first saw him, it was as such a powerful figure. Like, hey, this is why I am who I am. Then it's like, oh, then, I fell in love. I had a family. You saw the positive memories that he had with his family. Like he's playing games with his wife, his daughter, his son. They having this moment, and then you see what really made him snap, which again, totally understood why he decided to go back to the rings. The love of your life, the one woman who, as he mentioned, like she understood me. Like at this point in life, I had conquered everything. I lived for 1,000 years. No one could oppose me. And then I met this woman who just like was gentle, was loving, made me realize there's more to me than just like this killer, this conqueror.
And gave up everything for him.
And yeah, absolutely.
She made him human.
Yes, gave up everything. He said,
mortal.
Yes, he said it was willing to. What was it? He said it. Your mom was someone I was willing to age for. Mm-hmm. He was willing to.
Yeah, he found a reason to grow old.
Yes, he found a reason to grow old, and then she gets snatched away, and she gets snatched away in a brutal way. Mm-hmm. Like, and when that scene happened, I'm like, oh yeah, she could take him on. Then you see the whole courtyard fill. I'm like, hey, I mean, hey, mind you, she don't got powers no more. Like, yeah, she got hands, but she don't got powers, and she's taking on what looked like at least 30, 40, maybe
yeah,
50.
At least 30 dudes.
Mm. And it's just like, so when he snapped, it's like, I feel it wholeheartedly. I feel it.
So
like
sad,
he's looking at the box. He's like, you know what? This is my fault. If I never allowed myself to be human, like, mind you, yes, it's misguided. The reasoning is misguided, but in a moment of grief, how can you tell him like, no, you're wrong? And yep. And if I had never taken off the rings, no one would dare touch my family. We would still be a whole family. He, in his mind, he's thinking like, I could have still worn the rings and not been a conqueror. You know, I could have just, to protect my family, I could have, what's the word I'm looking for? Reconciled. I could have reconciled the two. Mm. But I made this decision, you know, your mom, I believe that I could protect you guys and we could live a happy life, and that your mom was right. You can escape your past. And unfortunately, she was wrong. And she paid the price. Mm-hmm. And from there on, what he did, bring in Shang-Chi with him to start exacting revenge, I was like, that's powerful. He's like, at this point, he's like, you know what? This is never going to happen again. Who did it?
Yep. And let me go take care of that.
And you are going to stand here and you are going to witness me take care of things and to hunt down each and every one responsible.
In a sense, it was like showing you like, these are the limits that I will go to protect y'all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like,
as a father, as a husband.
Yeah. Even though I might seem scary, you know what I'm saying? Like, because as a child, you're like, oh, that was pretty scary. But he's just showing you like, yo, if anybody came to come fuck with you, like, this is what I would do. And it was just, you know what I'm saying? It was something that was neat to do. It was poetic.
Love is not perfect. Mm-hmm. Love can hurt. Love can be painful. Now, and you know, I'm not gonna get up on a soapbox about love, but I will say this: the movie did a great job of really capturing the humanity of Wenwu, even when he put the rings back on. Because mind you, it's not like, oh, Wenwu was some alien that just came from another world. Wenwu was always human. He just happened to chance upon these items that extended his life and gave him the powers of a god.
Yep.
And then we later find out that it also corrupts, like, you know, the way it was used. Again, they did a great job of just capturing the depth of such a character. You know, this isn't your typical, like, hey, I'm a bad guy, and I'm just here to F shit up. You know, sometimes we like those type of characters, but for this film, we did not need that, and it was perfect that they didn't give us that. It was ideal. Tony Leung, that man is impressive. That man is impressive.
Yeah, man, he's incredible, and like, we can jump back to Talo and just come back to where he shows up there, and he's just like, are you really going to fight with the people that's holding back your mother? Like, he wholeheartedly believes this, that his wife is back there. He wants to believe more than anything that he can get his wife back, his peace back, his heart. You know what I mean? So it's like, and it's interesting that we saw this, and then it's like the What If episode, right? Like, what if when Wu had Doctor Strange's powers, he would have done the exact same thing as Strange, right? So
That's Strange.
it's really, really tragic watching these characters go through these things, but the way he's going about it is wrong. So the fight breaks out, everyone's fighting. We have the Warriors of Talo versus the Ten Rings, and then Wenwu and Shang-Chi start fighting again, and man, this is another great fight, and he beats the shit out of him, because Shang-Chi tells him again, like, even if mom is back there, what makes you think that she wants anything to do with you? And Tony Leung's face acting in that moment, like the way he just breaks and just hits Shang-Chi with all 10 rings and blows him into the water. Man, what'd you guys think?
I thought that was dope, and it was more so of a watch your tone. like it was like a watch your tone moment. It was more of like, I'm still your dad, like type shit. Like, how dare you say some stuff like that to me? Like, but Shang-Chi was right. Like, even if, you know what I'm saying, you do rescue her, he's like, what are the chances she wants to see you? And he made a good point. And it's one of those things where it was like it hit him to a point where it was like eye-opening to him, and he just, the only way he knew how to face that was how he handles everything with violence. So he knocked his head loose. I thought that was dope as shit. Like I thought that was dope. And but yeah, that fight once again was really dope, and you saw the rings being used in a sense of the same way, where it still wasn't cheesy. He's still using the rings, making them look cool and things like that. So I enjoyed that fight scene. Shang-Chi was pretty much outmatched because there's no rings. Rings is one of them things where he's fighting just to, you know, try to prove a point and try to hold his own. But you know, that's the opening. This is the big boss fight, but right now you got to get your lickings in, and then next time you're going to get the redemption fight. So I appreciated that fight.
Yeah. For me, before we even get to the fight, because you reminded me, Steve. So when he first pulls up, and you know, Grandpa that is training the archers, he talks his shit, and Wenwu was like, I lived 10 of your lifetimes, young man.
Right?
I was like,
that was fucking hilarious, bro.
I was like, hey, he is 1,000 years
like, yo,
old.
chill.
Like,
chill.
Hey, like,
you could be my great grandson, boy.
Like, that's such a flex.
It was the Omni Man.
Right?
I could always make another one.
He sunned that old man like, who are you to speak to me like this? And then of course when the fight with his son, it's like, hey, I am your daddy, and that's exactly when I got the Omni Man feel. Is like, yeah, dog, this man could whoop your ass 10 ways till Sunday, and he did. Threw that boy right into the water. He's like, all right, let me go free my wife. I just thought the fights, and then as the battle broke out, I was glad they didn't spend too much time on it. You know, we got to see the matchups form between the necessary characters. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, we get to him trying to break the scale. You know, well, even before that, I thought, well, I wanted to say this before we continue, is that I enjoyed this moment when they got to Talo and what it did for Katie's character. Facts. We really saw her character develop and to grow. I mean, that conversation she had with Grandma, you know, she's like, yeah, you know, I like to do things, and then, you know, I drop it before I get really good at it because, you know, I don't fear. But it's so dope that you're so good at what you do and that you've been honing your craft for so long. And I'm just like, wow, this was a funny comedic moment. It was also serious, like it was layered, you know, and I appreciated that for her. And I was like, yo, I hope she does get a moment to really flex, you know, because she's really picking it up. Because I'm wondering how much time passed while they're in Talo. I fully expected that time moved differently since they're in another dimension. But I'm like, how much time has passed for her to really hone her skills as an archer and to really be able to immerse herself and come to terms with who she is? Like, yes, I'm an American, but I'm also Chinese. You know, all throughout this film, it's been about figuring out who you really are. taking off the mask and whatnot. And when we get into this final act, it does so well of capturing that. And so when we get to the final fight, really, between Shang-Chi and Wenwu, I'm like, even the dialogue there is like, Dad, do you see what you're doing? Like,
Right. It's like we needed you and you
Yeah.
weren't there, right? Like he thought he was doing the best thing for himself and for his family to recreate the 10 rings to make sure that no one would ever mess with his family ever again, but these are the wrong choices. Like what they needed was a father.
yeah, and
not a
he,
warrior.
And he said, like, yo, there's still a chance to do that. Like, you can still turn away from this and come back to us. The hope is not lost for you, Dad. But, you know, unfortunately, when grief grabs somebody, it can consume them, as it did consume him. And, of course, he's being tainted by the soul devourer. Like, he's constantly, like, you're hearing your mom's voice. You're hearing the love of your life's voice saying, free me. Free me. What are you doing? Let me out. And so the fight happens, and then, hey, freedom. And when we get the soul devourer,
Great design too, by the way.
yes, it made me think of like how a demonic dragon would look like in, you know, World of Warcraft.
You do know this makes it really easy for them to introduce Chthon now, right?
It does. Not only that, but the homie Fin Fang Foom.
Right. So before the movie came out, I was like, could they be combining this great protector dragon and Fin Fang Foom?
That's what I thought too.
Turning him into like a spirit guardian for like Talo. Not the case, which I'm okay with because then you can still use Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah, especially with Fin Fang Foom comic history too. It's like, all right, you can have some fun. Like whether you want to focus on him as a villain, you know, as an anti-hero, as just a misguided hero, there's options for that. But seeing the character design, the CGI for not only the Great Protector, but for also the Soul Devourer gave me the utmost confidence that, yo, when we get Fin Fang Foom, it's going to be good. And even when we get that final fight between the Soul Devourer and the Great Protector, for a minute I was like, oh, wait, are you going to make this fight quick? Like, we got him out the paint already. He's surrounded by water. We just go get him out. And then what happens? The little soul eaters start dropping off more souls. It's like, yo, it brought you back to like, people are dying.
Yeah.
People are still dying.
But again, that's my problem. I don't feel it. I don't feel the weight of the 8-9 souls that were just taken from these warriors who have literally devoted their entire lives to protecting this gate. I didn't feel it because what do? We cut to Trevor playing dead and cracking fucking jokes. But again, this is an MCU problem, not a Shang-Chi problem. So it is what it is.
It's fair. And so then we see like, hey, yo, the Great Protector might get taken out this paint. Like, she might be out of here. Like, she's very close to death. But we get the sibling team up once again. And they just dig deep. And then we have Katie. Katie has her moment. Katie has her moment. And I thought like, yo, yes, this was a great way to not overhype her and be like, hey, we're going to basically make her into a Supergirl. She about to come out and start whooping ass. It's like, nah, she got one shot and she capitalized with that one shot. Because mind you, clearly she wasn't skilled enough to be like, hey, you can fight with us and definitely survive. It's like, we need all hands on deck, regardless. Like, just don't die. And now she gets a shot. She hits it. She helps him out. And, yo, we get a beautiful
Hawkeye
moment.
Proud.
Hawkeye definitely will be proud. But we get this beautiful moment of Shang-Chi enacting his final attack. And hey, you know, like, I know Ray wanted to say it on Villains, but Dragon Ball Z is now part of the MCU.
Yep,
that is canon
in the MCU.
It is canon because he hit him with a Kamehameha, you know, to take out that Soul Devourer. He did the damn thing. So Kakarot, I'm waiting for you to pull up, you know, Son Goku. When you gonna pull up and you know, maybe fight the Beyond or fight a Celestial?
Yo,
like, hey, we don't get
I don't know about it being canon that way, but they definitely seen Dragon Ball on TV.
Yeah,
because they mentioned it too. Because she mentioned the Kamehameha.
Yeah, right. But right before that, I love the exchange between Shang-Chi and Wenwu when they're fighting. and he takes control of the 5 of the rings. They continue to fight. He takes control of all 10, and he's doing the same technique that his mom did. They're going through the same fight exchanges that he went through with his mother. And as his soul is being taken by the Soul Devourer, you can see that Wenwu finally sees his son for who he is. He finally sees that, no, your wife does live on in your kids. And that's such an important thing. And he just lets the 10 rings go, gives them to Shang-Chi, and lets himself be taken so that Shang-Chi can be the hero of this story. And I love that. I love that sacrifice. Again, Tony Leung's amazing ability to emote so much just with his eyes, just with facial expressions. Just from that, I was able to read everything he was thinking without a single piece of dialogue. And then the way that Xialing and Shang-Chi look back at his dead body, it hit me, bro. It really hit me really hard. Like, it's like, man, he's dead. I was hoping he would get some type of redemption. Maybe he should have been given the chance to go to prison, be rehabilitated. But this is a guy that has lived tens of lifetimes, right? So
Yeah.
it was fitting that he made the sacrifice for his kids. And back to what you were saying, Abe, like, loved this moment for Shang-Chi. Loved how the rings were moving inside of the Soul Dweller, and then just completely destroys him, completely blows him up from the inside using Wenwu's technique, by the way. So I thought that was dope. Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, like I said, I thought that was dope too. The with him imploding it using Wenwu's technique was just more so of what his conversation with his aunt was going, where it was like, you know what I'm saying? It was free flowing. This is your mom's side. This is open your palm and use your mom's ability, but also the realization of that you are still your father's child as well. So him using Wenwu's technique was dope as hell for it to implode like that. I thought the whole scene within itself was just really good. Him passing away and letting his son take the mantle of like, here's the rings, this is your journey now. I thought that was really cool in the aspect of it just let him know that like his selfishness was gone. He was also like at a point where, like how you said, where your mom, my wife lives through you. So he came to that realization. Now I really was hoping, like you said, that he wouldn't die, because now he can see his son for who he is, and maybe he could get some time with him. But instead, we kind of just got the more so he came to the realization. He was like, I need to let my son handle this and take this. And then he sacrifices himself for less or a better word, to the dragon thing. So I thought that overall was cool. I do, like you, JB, I do wish that he would have lived a little longer, because he could have kind of got that, like, even though he saw his wife and his son, I thought that he didn't get enough time with that. I thought that maybe, you know what I'm saying, maybe he gets arrested or whatever, but at the same time, he can kind of see it even from the prison standpoint. But overall, I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. And he even says earlier on in the film, if you want the rings to be yours, you have to show me that you have the power to wield them, or some shit like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's in that moment at the end, he sees it. He sees all of it, yeah, culminates in this one moment, this one look at his son, man. It really broke me. That's something that I like about this character and what the MCU has done with some of its villains, where you can see their terrible deeds, but at the same time you empathize with them. Like, how do you not side with Killmonger in his beliefs to some degree, right? How do you not? You know what I mean? So same thing with Wenwu, much like we were just talking about with Doctor Strange and What If. What would you do if you had the power and you thought you had the chance to save someone that you loved? Imagine if you lived 1,000 years and then you finally find the one human being in 1,000 years that made you want to grow old. It's like, you know what? Life is worth it. Maybe I don't need to conquer anything else because I have this woman and my 2 kids. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really heartbreaking. Really, really great storytelling in the writing. They did a really good job.
Yes.
Yeah.
It like you said, with that whole situation with you finally found the one worth living for. It's just it's just one of those things. And it's like like how you said it hits you when you could see on his face. He pretty much like in a sense, like Shang-Chi had to see that as well. And he's like, man, I really made my dad proud. Regardless of if all the, you know what I'm saying, all the moments where he feared his dad made him, you know what I'm saying, scary and all this other stuff. It was like, dang, I made my dad proud. And that was like a really big moment. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
man.
To that movie.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really great scene. I love the tribute to the fallen. I love that they took time to honor the dead. You know what I mean? And it's very traditional the way that they did it in Chinese culture. I love that the Great Protector was there, swimming around the lanterns for the fallen. I thought that was gorgeous. And then after that, we get the quick cut back to Shang-Chi and Katie talking to their friend the
Oh
friends
my
in the bar
goodness.
At
after
the
just
bar, they're trying to
breaking
tell
down
the
what happened.
story.
Is like, we don't believe you.
Yeah, until Wong freaking shows up, and then they're like, "Oh," but yeah, that was really cool too. Just like it was like, all right, so the story is over, but you're really hearing it from they were actually telling the story. And she was like, and then she shot him from a mile away, and then she was all like, he's like, he got it, he nailed that shot. She nailed that shot, and it was like,
And she's
I
like,
thought
"Oh,
it was
I
really
get it.
cool.
You guys are just getting back at me because like I disrespected y'all." And then Wong pulls up, is like, "Shang-Chi, is there
Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi here?" He's like,
Mm,
me." And he comes up, takes a shot. He's like, "We need you. Come with me." And he's like, "You two," pointing to Katie.
yeah.
And then they get up, and Katie's like, "Hey, I'll call you when I can." It was great catching up with you two. I think his name was Joe or John. And
Mm,
they
Yeah, I
like
can't
stand
remember.
in front of the portal, and they kind of like look back at everybody. Everybody's just staring, and then they kind of just like, "Hey, hook arms and walk in," and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" Like their friends are
Yeah, it's
like,
like, do
"Oh
we
my
not
gosh."
remember that there were aliens that came out of
Yeah,
a
I
hole in
was
the
like,
sky?
"This
Do
is
you
wild to you." You
mhm,
guys
yeah,
referenced the snap earlier,
right,
so you
you
know that this
mentioned the snap.
like.
yeah.
So this just seems absurd. Like, damn, you really don't think highly of your friends. Then you really must view them
Right?
as slackers. Like, okay, then that's how we coming.
But yeah, so let's talk about now that we gotten to the end of the film, let's talk about the mid credit scene and the post credit scene. So the mid credit scene, I absolutely fucking loved. This was something that I was hoping to be a mid credit scene because
Mhm,
Wong is talking to Captain Marvel, talking to Bruce Banner, trying to figure out where the fuck these rings could have came from. We get the acknowledgement that they're way older than 1,000 years old,
mhm,
and at the heart of the rings is a beacon calling out to someone. Who, right? And
yeah.
it's going to be interesting because I do think the Eternals would be the beings that know exactly what the Ten Rings are. And I
Mhm,
hope that somewhere in the future, hopefully for Shang-Chi too, that one of the Eternals finds him or he finds them on his journey of trying to figure out where the Ten Rings came from to figure all of that stuff out. So I really, really like that. I love that aspect of it. I love that Captain Marvel, someone who has literally flew around the galaxy saving people,
mhm.
never seen it, never seen anything like it.
Like it.
Yeah, so I think it's really, really cool. So what did you guys think about that? And if you do you have any theories on who the beacon could be calling to? Who might know what the Ten Rings are? Let me hear your thoughts.
So I don't have any theory as far as like who I think the beacon is calling to or anything like that. Because like at this point, it's like, okay, Kang the Conqueror is our villain. So I don't know who it could even, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who it could even be at this point. Like, I don't know who else they could be bringing in or anything like that. I did enjoy the little eye candy of Bruce Banner being back in Banner form because
And his
clearly,
arm's still in a sling, which is very
yeah,
interesting because his Hulk power should have regenerated him pretty quickly after that. But
well,
it shows the effects of the snap, man.
yeah, because I was about to say his hand he was in a sling in the Hulk thing. You know what I'm saying? So obviously it might have, you know what I'm saying, been permanent damage, but now he's shrunk back into Banner form. He's still in a sling.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, so that was like really, really a serious, you know what I'm saying, injury. Um, but yeah, I have no idea who they could be calling though, because I mean, to call Captain Marvel, you know what I'm saying, they used a little, I guess, like cell phone device or beeper
Yeah.
thing. So they did all that to call her. So who could they be calling within inside the rings? You know what I'm saying? From thousands of years, over thousands of years old. Who is even? that old to even be, you know what I'm saying, tracking that. So you got to figure out
Yeah, and they've
that.
made it
And,
seem like sorry to cut you off, Steve, but they
no,
made
you
it
good.
seem like the beacon has been going off for the past 1,000 years. So
Yeah,
why hasn't anyone answered the call? Do they even see it? But go ahead.
yeah. Only person that I know that's thousands of years old and pyramids and crap is Apocalypse. But it's like I don't think that they're bringing in Apocalypse. Like,
Yeah, not yet.
like it's like what the fuck could it be? Like I have no idea.
Yeah, man. So I thought that mid credit scene was really really cool. The end credit scene, I feel like they should have been swapped. I feel like the end credit scene should have been the mid credit scene, because
Mhm.
that end credit scene, I mean, it's what we all suspected, right? Shang-Chi talks about, yeah, my sister is over at my dad's old base shutting down the 10 rings. It's like, no, we all knew that she would be the one running the new 10 rings. So I
Mhm.
wasn't very surprised by that at all. Like, so Abe, what did you think? Were you surprised at all that she was running the 10 rings? Like,
No, no, it made full sense because at this point in the movie, like yes, we were having this this coming to terms for the characters, but not really for her. And this is probably why I didn't have as much issue with the Trevor thing, because if they took out Trevor and gave more time to her, we probably don't really get this type of ending. You understand? Because then with that much more development with her, she should probably have a coming to terms. She doesn't feel the need to take over after her father. She's reconciled. Um, but for but for her, I was like, hey, that's dope. And what did she do? She combined both. She had Razor Fist on one side of her, she had her homie on the other side. And what do we see? She got woman training, but she also has the men training too with different weaponry. I was like, she about to fuck shit up.
Yeah,
Who cares
that
about the Black Widows when you got her, baby? She
right?
about to show. She about to show out. She about to
that
show out.
that scene gave me Marvel TV series more than a like next, you know what I'm saying, upcoming Shang-Chi film or something like that that plays a part. I'm thinking like we'll get a 10 Rings TV series on Disney Plus or something like
I'm
that.
for it, dude. I'm
Yeah,
all for that shit.
that's what I was thinking. I was all like, oh, okay, that looks like that could definitely, and I wouldn't be mind diving deep into that. And then that can give us, you know what I'm saying, some more answers to everything that's going on, maybe with the rings, the beacon, and things like that. You never know.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of potential. I would love a TV show on the Ten Rings. I think that would be really sick to like
Mm.
really explore the lore, spend some more time in China with these types of characters. So I think that'd be lit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did a really good job talking about Shang-Chi, talking about What If, breaking down the Matrix Resurrections trailer, talking about the PlayStation Showcase. This was a really, really great show, guys. Stacked show, but we made it. We talked about all of the amazing moments throughout Shang-Chi. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see it again, honestly. I might, just us talking about it, I might go see it again this week, maybe even Monday. I'm not sure yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys have any final thoughts, let me get your final thoughts and tell the people where they can find you online.
Worthwhile movie. Go watch it. Shang-Chi was dope. Phase 4 is in good hands. All those people who think that Phase 4 is struggling, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't really care to hear your opinion. But everybody else, like, hey, if you didn't enjoy the movie, I think you're absurd. But if you enjoyed the movie, it's great. Great standalone film. Don't really need to watch anything else about the MCU really to understand it. It sits perfectly. That being said, it's your homie Laburu Anikulapo, son of Darkseid. You can catch me on Twitter at Prince underscore A Lawal. That is Prince underscore ALAWAL. My link tree is in there. Definitely follow the Osa and A podcast. That's the podcast I do with my homie, my mentor, my big brother Osa. We have a Twitter account, Osa underscore A podcast. You know, I'm hella active on there. It is football season, baby. So you're gonna see me tweeting about football and all that stuff. New episode is dropping Sunday morning at 9 a.m. PST. Um, Definitely check out Inside the Mind of a Blerd and all that we're doing there. We have a shop, we have a YouTube, we also have a link tree as well. Follow SSAW SSA Worldwide on Twitter. I also run that account. Like I said, it's football season, so you want to see us hella active. Shout out to Cover Zero for sure. As always, follow Anime Lately. Follow Careful for Spoilers. Definitely show love to Spicy Lady Gaming on Twitch. I got my hands in a lot of pots. Sometimes I forget which one I'm doing, right? But anyway, appreciate y'all tuning in, staying with us for almost 3 hours. Normally we don't go this long, but
almost
there
4
was so
hours.
much, almost 4 hours, but there was so much to talk about. We had a lot of fun. I always love it here. This is a great way to spend my Friday night. Appreciate y'all for real.
Yeah, you can follow me at ScubaSteve1428. Follow the Inside the Mind of a Blerd page. Follow it'll have a link tree on there to our YouTube, our shop, everything of that nature. Skylar and Scuba Steve. It'll have my Naka Mixer, other than that, that's pretty much it. As far as the last thoughts of the film, it was great. I feel like as far as origin stories, you got Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and I don't know what else is better. Because I don't really consider Black Panther or Spider-Man origin stories.
Yeah, they're not origin movies, yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty much Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and then Shang-Chi for me.
Yeah, man, I absolutely love this movie. Like I said, the first time I saw it, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I kind of placed it around out of the 28 Marvel properties, not including What If, I put it around 18 or 19. But after my second viewing and actually getting to really, really appreciate it a little bit more, it jumped up to number 11. And that's only under Winter Soldier, Endgame, Infinity War, Iron Man, movies that I think are just next level, incredible films with no issues in my opinion. So highly recommend watching Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Support this film, support these Asian-led properties. Go watch Warrior on HBO Max. Go support some of these other Asian-led properties, and let these producers know that these are the things that we want to see. The reason why Black Panther and the reason why Black Widow and Shang-Chi took so long is because these executives just didn't think that minorities, people of color, people that are not heterosexual white men are the only people that audiences want to see on screen, and they're wrong. Black Panther made over $1 billion. It's one of the most profitable MCU movies ever. Shang-Chi destroyed the Labor Day weekend box office and is going to continue to do bank, bro. Black Widow did good numbers, even though, the film was kind of screwed by the Disney Plus release, but it is what it is. It did good enough, right? So they're learning. Kevin Feige is the guy that is really putting in the work to make sure that these projects come to light. So support the MCU, support these films. I had an absolute blast with Shang-Chi. You guys can follow me all over social media at JB Exclusive, and of course see the number 4 spoilers. Head over to carefulforspoilers.com right now, where we have 2 articles talking about the PlayStation Showcase. One where you can find my quick thoughts on the entire event, and I give you links to all of the trailers that was released. Breezy is breaking down the Forsaken trailer in his article. So we got a lot of lit content coming for you guys. Make sure you go to shopforspoilers.com, pick up some merch, go over to the merch store for Inside the Mind of the Blerd, pick up some socks, support the fam over here. So yeah, man, this was an incredible episode. I felt like we did a really good job. I knew this episode was going to be super fucking long, but I felt like nothing was rushed. We took our time and we gave honor to all of these amazing things. So had a great show. Can't wait to be on the next one. Vash, we miss you, man. You haven't been on in a while. Vash actually just got home a little while ago, but we were wrapping up. But hope to see you on the next one, man. We got a lot more what ifs to talk about. Still got 4 more episodes. Then we're going to be bringing you guys some DC stuff. We're going to be talking comics, DC movie reviews. October is going to be fucking stacked with horror content. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And until we see you guys on the next one, see ya.